Hey everyone, tonight we travel back 1,000 years. Not to a battlefield or a castle under siege, but to a quiet, dimly lit room in a sprawling wooden palace. You can hear the soft rustle of heavy silk on polished cypress floors. The air itself is sweet, almost heavy, thick with the scent of blended incense, aloes wood, sandalwood, and clove, drifting from a nearby burner. Through the slatted wooden blinds, you see nothing but a meticulously raked gravel garden, perfectly sterile, where a single, artfully placed cherry tree is just beginning to blossom. This is the imperial court of Heian, Japan, around the year 1000 AD. It is the most refined, most aesthetic, and most suffocatingly polite place that has ever existed. And let's be honest, you probably wouldn't survive this. Not the plagues or the lack of sanitation, but the sheer, crushing weight of the social rules. One wrong color combination on your sleeve and you're a social pariah for life. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe. But only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. As always, I love to see where everyone is tuning in from, so please drop your location and maybe your local time in the comments. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You are here in this golden cage. You are a nyobo, a court lady, and your life is a masterpiece of constrained elegance. You live in the rear palace, a labyrinth of rooms and corridors where the empress and her attendants reside. Your world is defined by screens. You rarely, if ever, see the public parts of the palace. You certainly don't just go for a walk. When a man of rank, even your own father or brother, comes to visit, you do not see him. You sit behind a sudare, a heavy silk-edged bamboo blind, or perhaps a kicho, a screen of state. You are a disembodied voice, a rustle of silk, a beautifully calligraphed poem passed out on scented paper. His voice comes back, equally cultured, equally veiled. This is your primary mode of communication with the outside world. Whispers through bamboo. Your entire existence is judged on one thing, miyabi, or courtly elegance. This isn't just about manners, it's about your aesthetic refinement, and the standards are specific. You spend hours applying your makeup. This involves shaving off your natural eyebrows completely and painting new smudgy ovals high on your forehead, almost at your hairline. Then you powder your face dead white with a thick paste of rice powder. Unfortunately, this is often mixed with lead, which slowly poisons you, but that's a problem for later. The real centerpiece of your look, however, is your teeth. You must, of course, blacken them. Several times a week you undergo the ritual of ohaguro, painting your teeth with a foul-tasting slurry made from iron filings dissolved in vinegar and tea. To you, a bright white smile would look garish, primal, almost animalistic. A gleaming black lacquer smile is the height of sophistication. Oh, and your hair. Your hair must be longer than you are tall. It is a shining black curtain, ideally pooling several inches on the floor around you as you sit. This is the definition of beauty. You live in Heian, the capital of peace and tranquility, which we now call Kyoto. This is the Heian period, and it's a very strange bubble in history. For centuries, the warrior, the samurai, has been relegated to a minor role. They are thuggish provincial guards, not the rulers of the nation. The true power here isn't the emperor, who is a divine ceremonial figurehead. The real power belongs to the Fujiwara clan. This is the mainstream fact of the era. The Fujiwara have mastered politics not with armies but with marriage. For generations, they have systematically married their daughters to the emperors, ensuring that the next emperor is always their grandson. The Fujiwara patriarch then rules as Seisho, regent for a child emperor, or Kampaku, regent for an adult one. The government is an intricate aristocratic bureaucracy run by aristocrats for aristocrats. And because there are no great wars to fight, no grand crusades to launch, the energy of this elite class has turned inward. It has become a hothouse of cultural competition. Your reputation, your entire family's standing, can be destroyed by a single social blunder. Did you wear plum blossom pink robes in April, when cherry blossom pink is required? Social suicide. Did you receive a poem from a potential lover and your reply dashed off on paper that wasn't quite the right shade of lavender? featured handwriting that was merely competent instead of sublime, he will lose all interest. It's like living inside the most judgmental social media app ever invented, but it's your entire life and you can't log off. The pressure is immense. Historians still argue whether this Heian world was a genuine golden age of unparalleled artistic achievement or a decadent, narcissistic, and parasitic bubble completely detached from the realities of the common people. Outside the capital's grid-like streets, the provinces were often chaotic. Taxes went uncollected, pirates roamed the seas, and farmers starved. But in your gilded cage, none of that matters. What matters is the precise angle of the moon, the exact scent of the rain on a cypress branch, and above all, the crushing, overwhelming, soul-deep boredom. The days are long. They are filled with ceremonies, endless changes of elaborate costume. Your junihito, or 12-layer robe, can weigh up to 40 pounds. And the constant, subtle, whispering games of social one-upmanship. It's a world of profound feeling, but almost no action. And in this world starved of event, there are only two things to do: fall in love and write about it. But before our author, Murasaki Shikibu, could write her masterpiece, she had to answer a fundamental question. What, even, is a story? So what is a story? You're sitting in your partitioned-off space, the 40-pound 12-layer robe making it hard to breathe, and you are, as we established, profoundly bored. You want to read something. What are your options? Well, in your world, literature is sharply divided. There's the serious, important stuff, and then there's the stuff you actually want to read. The serious stuff is almost exclusively written in Chinese. This is the language of government, of religion, and of real history. This is the intellectual high ground, and it's reserved almost entirely for men. If you were to pick up an important book, it would likely be one of the great Chinese classics, or perhaps Japan's own official histories, like the Nihon Shoki or Chronicles of Japan. And let me tell you, this is not exactly a beach read. You unroll the heavy paper scroll and you find lists. In the 3rd year of Emperor Tenji, a peasant in a distant province offered a strange, 3-legged bird to the court. This was seen as an auspicious omen. Then, in the 4th year, the harvest was good. It's an official logbook. It's about as emotionally engaging as a modern tax return. It tells you what happened, but never ever what it felt like. This is the mainstream historical fact of your library. Literature is either history or poetry. There's very little in between. The idea of a long-form story, written in prose, just to explore, well, people, that's not really a category. It doesn't exist. So you turn from the official shelf and look for the monogatari, the tales. These are the stories you and the other ladies whisper about. These are written in your native Japanese, and they are considered somewhat frivolous, a bit beneath the notice of serious male scholars. And what are these tales like? They are, by your standards, fantastic. You might unroll one of your favorites, Taketori Monogatari, or The Tale of the Bamboo Cutter. You've read it a dozen times. It's the story of an old bamboo cutter who finds a miniature glowing girl inside a bamboo stalk. He and his wife raise her, and she grows into a woman of supernatural beauty named Princess Kaguya. She is so beautiful that every eligible man in Japan, right up to the emperor himself, wants to marry her. But she wants none of them. To get rid of her 5 most persistent, high-ranking suitors, she gives them a series of impossible quests. "Oh, you want to marry me? Fine," she basically says. "Just pop over to the dragon's lair and bring me back the jewel from its neck." It's the ultimate ancient he's not worth my time brush-off. Eventually, you learn the truth. She is from the moon, and her people are coming to take her back. On a night of the full moon, a glowing celestial chariot descends. Her human parents weep, and she ascends to the sky, leaving them only a cloak and a vial of the elixir of immortality. It's a beautiful story. It's magical. It's sad. It's inventive. It's arguably the world's first science fiction story, which is a fantastic, quirky tidbit. But here's the thing. You have no idea what is actually going on inside Princess Kaguya's head. Why does she reject everyone? Is she sad? Is she arrogant? Is she lonely? Does she miss the moon? The story doesn't say. It just describes what she does. She weeps. She refuses. She ascends. Her inner life is a complete black box. You are watching her from a great, great distance. Or perhaps you pick up another popular scroll, the Ise Monogatari, or the Tales of Ise. This one is different. It's not one single story. Instead, it's a collection of 125 short episodes, each one a little prose vignette built around a central poem. A typical section might read, "Once a man was traveling to a distant province. He saw a beautiful woman by a river, and feeling a pang of longing for the capital, he composed this poem." The poem is the star of the show. The prose is just the stage direction. It's the setup. It's like looking at a 1,000-year-old Instagram feed. You get a beautiful filtered snapshot, the poem, and a brief curated caption, the prose, explaining the context. It's evocative, and some of the poems are heartbreakingly good, but it's not a narrative. You can't sink into it. You don't know this man, you don't know his backstory, you don't know what he had for breakfast or what he secretly fears. You just know that in this one specific moment he felt a pang. Historians still argue whether these early monogatari were just primitive warm-ups for the novel, or if they were a completely different and sophisticated art form in their own right, where the goal was not psychological realism. They were poem tales, uta monogatari, and their entire reason for existing was to give a dramatic framework to pre-existing famous poems. They were, in essence, anthologies connected by a flimsy plot. So this is your literary world. You have dry, important histories of emperors. You have fantastical myths about moon princesses and dragon jewels. And you have poetic travelogues that are basically just excuses to write poetry. What you don't have is a story about a person, a real, complicated, flawed, recognizable human being. You don't have a story that explores the mind of someone who isn't a god or a myth, but just someone. Someone like you. Someone who lives in this same gilded cage, who is bored and lonely and jealous and ambitious, and who sometimes feels a profound, inexplicable sadness, mono no aware while staring at a blossom falling from a tree. That story does not exist. The very concept of it is hovering, unformed in the incense-laden air. Before it can be written, you don't just need an author. You need a new technology. You need a new alphabet. This need for a new alphabet is everything. Because right now in your courtly world, there isn't just one way to write. There are two, and they are starkly divided by gender and by purpose. This is the great linguistic wall of your era. On one side, you have the men, the officials, the scholars, the priests, the ministers, and they write in Chinese. This isn't just a preference. It's the law. This is the mainstream historical fact. All official documents, all government business, all serious philosophy, all Buddhist sutras, and all real history are written in Kanbun, which is classical Chinese. This is the language of power. It's the Latin of your world, the universal high-status language of administration and serious thought. Now imagine you're a man at court, an ambitious young secretary in the Ministry of Rights. You sit at your formal desk, unroll a heavy scroll of thick cream-colored paper. You take your inkstone, drip a precise amount of water onto it, and begin to grind your solid ink stick in a slow, meditative circle. The faint, earthy smell of pine soot and camphor fills the air. Your brush, a fine point of weasel hair, is poised. You're about to draft a memo on tax collection or perhaps a proposal for a new court ceremony. You must write this in Chinese. But here's the problem. You don't speak Chinese. You speak Japanese. And Japanese and Chinese are as unrelated as English and, well, Japanese. They have completely different grammar, different word orders, different everything. The only thing they share is the visual script, the kanji, Chinese characters, which Japan imported centuries ago. So how do you do it? You perform a daily act of staggering intellectual gymnastics. You write in pure classical Chinese following its grammar, but to read it back, you and your colleagues use a complex system of annotation marks called karitan, return marks, and okurigana. This is a quirky, fascinating tidbit. It's essentially a hack, a secret decoder ring known as kundoku, reading by gloss. Tiny little marks written next to the Chinese characters tell you, the Japanese reader, to read this character last, skip this one and come back. Add a Japanese grammatical particle here. You are mentally rejiggering the entire Chinese sentence into a Japanese grammatical structure as you read it. It is like trying to read a Latin document by mentally rearranging the words to fit English syntax, all in real time. It's incredibly difficult, it's cumbersome, and it's what every educated man has to spend his entire youth mastering. This is why fluency in Chinese is such a massive status symbol. It's the ultimate boys' club. It's the exclusive language of the patriarchy. Historians still argue whether this total reliance on a foreign script was a crucial civilizing leap that connected Japan to the great intellectual traditions of the continent, or if it was a cultural straitjacket that actively stifled the development of native Japanese prose for centuries. For a woman, the situation is clear. You are not supposed to know this language. It is considered unfeminine, even aggressive. A woman dabbling in kanbun is seen as pretentious and unattractive, trying to be something she's not. It's like a woman today showing up to a party and speaking exclusively in obscure 18th century legal jargon. People would just think you were a lot. Your world, the female world, is supposed to be the world of Yamato Kotoba, the Japanese speech, the soft, native, emotional language. And for a long time, you had no way to write it down. You could write poems using kanji purely for their sound, ignoring their meaning, a system called man-yogana. But it was hideously complex. Imagine trying to write I love you by drawing, say, an I, a log, and a U. It's a rebus and it's clumsy. A single poem could take up an entire page with huge, blocky, complex characters. It was inefficient, and it was ugly. So you and the other ladies live in a world of spoken language, of letters, of diaries, of whispered feelings. The men have their grand, public, important histories. You have your private, frivolous emotions. The entire emotional, psychological, internal world of your culture has no official written form. It's a massive, silent continent waiting to be mapped. The tool that will finally allow you to map it, the key that will unlock this silent world, is being perfected right in your own chambers. It's a new script, a beautiful, flowing, easy script, and it's considered women's writing. So you have a problem. You have this rich, emotionally complex native language, Yamato Kotoba, filled with nuance and subtlety, perfect for describing the exact shade of melancholy you feel on a rainy afternoon. But the only tool you have to write it with, this man-yogana system, is like trying to paint a watercolor masterpiece with a house painting roller. It's a messy, frustrating rebus. You need a character for the sound ka. Well, you could use the complex Chinese character for ad, jia, because it's pronounced ka. Or you could use the one for scent, xiang, or the one for river, he. They all work, and they're all a nightmare of 15 strokes each. Writing a simple poem is a laborious act of calligraphy, and the result is visually chaotic. It's just not practical for dashing off a quick, witty reply to a note passed through your Sudar screen. But humans are brilliant and lazy in the best possible way. We crave efficiency. And that's what happens next. You and your fellow court ladies. And to be fair, some monks and poets start to get cursive. You're writing these complex kanji over and over, just for their sound. You start to speed up. Your brush flows. You don't lift it from the paper. That 15-stroke character for ad, jia, starts to get simpler. The lines blur. They connect. You stop caring about the correct way to write the character and focus on the speed and flow. You are, in essence, developing a private shorthand. This is the birth of hiragana. It's not an invention so much as an evolution. This is the key quirky tidbit. Hiragana is, quite literally, just what happens when you write certain Chinese characters in the most extremely simplified, flowing, cursive grass script, sosho, imaginable, until they become entirely new shapes. The complex character for peace or cheap, an, pronounced an, is slowly worn down by centuries of hurried, elegant brushes until it becomes the simple, beautiful, looping character for a. The character for law or measure, kun, sun, melts into the simple curve of su. The one for ability, neng, no, becomes the little spiraling no. Each one is a tiny fossil, a ghost of a complex kanji, worn smooth by time and use, like a piece of sea glass. This new script is a revolution. It's light, it's fast, it's beautiful. And because it's native-born and simplified, It perfectly intuitively maps to the 47 simple syllables of the Japanese language. You no longer have to perform complex mental gymnastics. The sound ka is just ka. The sound mi is just mi. You can now write exactly as you speak. And here is the mainstream historical fact that changes everything. Because the men are all busy with their serious, difficult, high-status Chinese script, this new, easy, cursive script is seen as, well, a bit frivolous, a bit domestic. It's anad, nusho, women's hand. It's the script you use for personal, private things. You use it to write diaries. You use it to write letters to your sister. You use it to dash off poems about the dew on a lotus leaf. It is by definition the language of emotion. The men have their public language of law and history. You have just perfected the private language of the human heart. Historians still argue about how strict this gender divide truly was. Some men definitely used hiragana for their own poetry, but the cultural association was powerful and absolute. Kanji was hard, angular, complex, and male. Hiragana was soft, flowing, simple, and female. This technological leap is impossible to overstate. It's like the difference between chiseling a message in stone and sending a text. Suddenly, you can capture the fleeting, half-formed thoughts that flicker through your mind. You can engage in a rapid-fire, witty, poetic exchange with a potential lover, all passed by a servant on scented folded notes. The tool has finally arrived that can give your interior world a voice. Your boredom, your petty jealousies, your aesthetic raptures, your profound sadness at the passage of time. It can all be put down on paper, instantly. You sit in your dim room, the 40-pound Junihito weighing on your shoulders. The incense smoke curls in the air. You pick up your brush. You are no longer limited to the epic external tales of moon princesses or the dry official lists of emperors. You have a new secret weapon, a script that can turn inward. You can write a story not about what people do, but about what they feel. You can write about the tiny, unobserved moments that make up a life. You can write about the unbearable awkwardness of a social situation, the hidden sting behind a polite compliment, the deep, unspoken longing you feel as you listen to the rain all night. The stage is set. The gilded cage has a voice. The literary world is a void waiting for a new kind of story. And now, into this perfect, pressurized, bored, and aesthetically obsessed environment, a woman with a very particular and very forbidden education is about to arrive. Awaiting continue. So you have this perfect, elegant, flowing script, hiragana, the women's hand, designed to capture the private, emotional world that the men's serious Chinese script ignores. The tool is ready. The stage is set. All that's missing is the author. And this is where she enters, or rather, this is where we try to find her. Because the single most astonishing fact about the world's first novelist is that we have no idea what her real name was. The woman you know as Murasaki Shikibu was not named Murasaki Shikibu. That is a title, a nickname, a descriptor, cobbled together from her father's job and her own most famous character. She is, in effect, the author of Genji, who was the daughter of the guy from the ceremonies office. It's a bizarrely bureaucratic and literary-based name, like calling Charles Dickens' boss clerk's son. Let's break that down. This is the mainstream historical fact. Her name is in two parts and neither is a name. The Shikibu part comes from the Shikibusho, the Ministry of Ceremonies. This was a mid-level but highly respected department in the imperial bureaucracy. Her father, a man named Fujiwara no Tamatoki, held a position in this ministry. So Shikibu is just a label identifying which Fujiwara family she belongs to. She is the one whose father is in ceremonies. It's a way to distinguish her from all the other high-ranking Fujiwara daughters at court. It's the Heian equivalent of being called HR Department Brenda. It's a functional tag, not an identity. The Murasaki part is even more fascinating. It means purple or lavender, and it's a nickname that was given to her by other courtiers, most likely after her story had already become a smash hit. Why Murasaki? Because it was the name of the primary and most beloved female heroine in her own tale. So you write a story, it becomes wildly popular, and people at court as a sly in-joke start calling you by your main character's name. It's the ultimate quirky tidbit. It's as if everyone at the court of King James had started calling William Shakespeare Hamlet, or maybe Lady Macbeth if they were feeling spicy. A little joke there, as she was definitely not as murderous. The work literally became her name. Her creation swallowed her identity whole. So who was she? Her given name, her Emina, is lost. This wasn't an accident, or a sign she was unimportant. On the contrary, it was a function of the very courtly rules she lived by. In Heian, it was considered fantastically, almost shockingly rude to use a high-ranking woman's personal name in public. Your given name was a private, intimate thing, used only by your parents or perhaps your husband. To write it down in a public document or a diary entry, unless you were the emperor, would be a massive social blunder like publishing someone's private bank details. It just wasn't done. So in all the official records, the court diaries, the promotion lists, she is the daughter of Tamatoki. Later, she is the wife of Nobutaka. Then, the mother of Daini no Sanmi. She is defined entirely by her relationship to the men in her life. This is the great central irony. The woman who would invent the psychological novel, who would pioneer the exploration of the inner self, has had her own self, her own name, completely erased by history. Historians still argue, digging through dusty, thousand-year-old court logs, what her name might have been. There is one tantalizing, ambiguous clue. A court diary from 1007 mentions a nyobo, court lady, attached to Empress Shoshi, our author's patron, with the name Karuko, or possibly Takako. The kanji, xiangzi, can be read both ways. This is our best guess. It's possible. This Karuko might have been our author, but we just don't know. We will probably never know. She is a ghost, a brilliant, observant, witty ghost, living in the margins of the official record. And honestly, this anonymity might have been her superpower. She is not a star. She is not a public figure. She is the daughter from ceremonies, a mid-level attendant. She is in the room, but she's not the one everyone is looking at. She's the one sitting quietly behind the screen, listening to the gossip, listening to the bragging of the male courtiers who visit, listening to the whispered heartbreaks of the other women. She is the ultimate observer. She has the perfect, flowing hiragana script to capture what she hears. She has the crushing boredom of court life to motivate her. All she needs now is one more thing, an education, a man's education, and she's about to get one entirely by accident. You're a child, maybe 10 or 11 years old. You are still just the daughter of Tamatoki, and your father is a man of culture. This is crucial. He isn't just a political functionary in the Ministry of Ceremonies. He's a genuine scholar, a poet in his own right, and a deep-feeling man who truly reveres the great works of Chinese literature. He is, in short, exactly the kind of man who values intellect. And he has a son, your brother Nobunori. As the boy, Nobunori is the vessel for the family's scholarly ambitions. He is the one who must learn classical Chinese. He is the one who will carry on the family's bureaucratic and literary legacy. And so you watch, hidden, as the lessons begin. You are not supposed to be there. You're meant to be in another room practicing your kodo, a stringed instrument, or learning the dizzyingly complex rules of color combinations for your 12-layered robes. Or perhaps just practicing your women's hand, that flowing, elegant hiragana. But you are different. You're curious. So you sit just out of sight, maybe behind a shoji screen, the paper panels filtering the light and the sound. You listen. Your father is patient, trying to drill your brother on a passage from the Shiji, the records of the grand historian, or perhaps the poetry of Bai Juyi. It's dense. It's complex. It requires that staggering mental gymnastic of kundoku, mentally rewiring Chinese grammar into Japanese as you read. And your brother, he's just not getting it. He's slow. He forgets the characters. He mixes up the annotations. But you, sitting in the shadows, are not slow. You are, in fact, terrifyingly fast. You're listening to these sounds, these foreign phrases, these grand histories of emperors and battles in distant dynasties. And it just makes sense. You're picking it up faster than he is. You're memorizing the passages he's struggling to read. This is the mainstream historical fact of her youth. Murasaki Shikibu was a prodigy, and she learned her forbidden knowledge by eavesdropping on the lessons intended for her male sibling. There is one specific, famous, and heartbreaking moment that she herself bothered to record years later in her diary. It is our one real window into this childhood. After one of these lessons where her brother had fumbled and she had perhaps quietly corrected him or simply shown her understanding, her father let out a long sigh. He looked at you, this brilliant, observant, too smart for her own good daughter, and said the words that would define her. "If only you had been born a man, what a fortunate man I would have been." Or, as it's more famously translated, "What a pity she was not born a man." This is the ultimate quirky tidbit, and it is devastating. It is, in one breath, the highest praise for your intellect and the most complete dismissal of your entire future. He is saying, your mind is brilliant, and it is completely, utterly wasted on you because you are a girl. Imagine hearing that from the person you respect most. It confirms two things for you simultaneously. 1, you are smarter than your brother. 2, it doesn't matter. This knowledge is not for you. It is unfeminine. It is, as we've said, unattractive. A woman who parades her knowledge of Chinese is considered pretentious, a namasagashira, a know-it-all, desperate and uncouth. So you learn to do something crucial. You learn to hide your intelligence. You learn to play dumb. You become the quiet observer, the one in the corner, the one who knows everything and says nothing. Historians still argue about the true nature of this education. Was it all truly peaking, a stolen knowledge she acquired through sheer, secret willpower? Or did her father, Tamatoki, secretly despair of his son and against all convention begin to quietly mentor his brilliant daughter? Did he sigh in regret? Or did he sigh, shrug, and then slip her his own copy of the Book of Rites, telling her not to show it to her mother? We will never know. But the result is the same. She now has a bilingual literary mind. In her head, she has two separate complete toolkits. She has the hiragana brain, the native Japanese, emotional, subtle, poetic, female language of diaries and feelings. And she has the kanbun brain, the classical Chinese, historical, epic, philosophical, male language of grand narratives, political strategy, and the wide sweep of history. She is one of the very few women in the entire country, perhaps the only one at court, who is truly, deeply fluent in both. She can read the epic tales of Chinese history and also understand the subtle, heartbroken waka poems of her fellow court ladies. She can now, if she chooses, take the plot, structure, and scale of a Chinese historical epic and write it using the intimate psychological emotional language of Japanese hiragana. She can create a new hybrid art form. She has the education. She has the tool. She has the motivation. But right now, she is still just a girl in her father's house. Her knowledge is purely academic. She lacks life. She lacks pain and loss and the deep, complex adult emotions she's only read about. Life is about to provide that experience in the most abrupt and painful way possible. You have this explosive hybrid intellect, a mind that contains both the grand, epic sweep of Chinese history and the intimate, emotional nuance of Japanese hiragana. But you are still in your father's house. You're a brilliant academic with no life experience. You understand the theory of sadness, but you haven't yet felt the reality of loss. That is about to change, quickly and permanently. Your father, Tamatoki, despite his scholarly brilliance, isn't the most successful political operator. He angles for a promotion, a governorship, and after some political maneuvering, including a rather embarrassingly emotional poem sent directly to the emperor, he gets one. But it's a promotion that is also a form of exile. He's made governor of the distant province of Echizen. It's cold. It's remote. It's full of rough, uncultured warriors. It is, in every meaningful way, not the capital. You go with him, for a time. You are in your early 20s. You spend a year or so in this rustic outpost, seeing for the first time the vast, real Japan that exists outside the perfumed hothouse bubble of Heian. You see a world that is not governed by the color of your robes, but by the harvest and the weather. But you don't belong here. You return to the capital, to a branch of the family, and now you are in a precarious position. You are in your mid-20s. In your world, this is late. Most of your contemporaries were married off at 14 or 15. You are an older single woman, known for being a bit too smart and a bit too quiet. Your marriage prospects are narrowing. Then, a match is made. In 998 or 999 AD, your father arranges for you to be married. The groom is a man named Fujiwara no Nobutaka. This is the mainstream historical fact of your entry into adult life, and he is an interesting choice. Like you, he's a Fujiwara, a distant cousin. But that's where the similarity ends. You are in your mid-20s, he is in his late 40s, maybe even 50. He is a seasoned, established courtier. And crucially, he already has other wives. He has a principal wife. He has other, less formal wives. He has children from these relationships who are practically your age. You are not the wife. You are being added to his domestic portfolio. This is the reality of Heian marriage. It's not about finding your one true love. It's a political and social arrangement. You are now the mistress of a new household, but you are not the primary one. Your husband, Nobutaka, does not live with you. He visits. His visits are the core of your relationship. You wait in your rooms behind your screen. He arrives, his attendants waiting outside. You talk. You exchange poems. He is admitted to your chambers. And then, before the sun rises, he must leave. This is the ironclad rule. He must then, immediately upon returning to his own mansion, send a Kinuginu no Fumi, a morning after poem, on paper perfectly chosen to match the mood of the night and the dew on the morning glories. If the poem is clumsy, or if it arrives late, it's a devastating social insult. This is the fraught, jealous, insecure, high-stakes game of love you are now playing. And what of Nobutaka himself? Historians still argue about this relationship. Was it a loveless political match that left you feeling isolated and marginalized? Or, as some evidence suggests, was there a genuine, if complex, affection between you? Nobutaka was no fool. He was also a poet, a man of aesthetic tastes. And here is the quirky tidbit. He had a reputation for being a bit of a dandy. He was known for his splendid and flamboyant outfits, and for the dashing team of young outriders who accompanied him on his nightly visits. He was, in modern terms, a guy with a lot of flash. Perhaps your quiet, towering intellect and his showy, experienced worldliness found a strange and compelling balance. Maybe you, the brilliant observer, were fascinated by this man who was so much your opposite. You are living, breathing, and surviving the exact emotional material that will fuel your novel. You now understand from the inside what it feels like to be one of the other women. You know what it is to wait by a window listening for the sound of his attendants in the gravel courtyard, and to feel that twist of jealousy and fear when he doesn't come, because he is of course visiting his other wife tonight. You are no longer just an academic, you are a participant. Then you have a child, a daughter Kenshi, who will grow up to be a famous poet in her own right. You have a family. You have a place, however complicated, in the social fabric of the court. And then, just as suddenly as it began, it's over. In 1001 AD, a devastating plague, probably cholera, sweeps through the capital. It's swift and merciless, and Nobutaka, your flamboyant Mukolder husband, catches it, and he dies. You were married for 2, maybe 3 years. You are now a widow. You are not yet 30. You have an infant daughter. By the standards of your world, your romantic and political life is effectively over. You have no husband to sponsor your advancement. You have no political role. You are unmoored. You have been given the forbidden education of a man, the social experience of a polygynous marriage, and now, the profound, unrateable grief of sudden loss. This is the final piece. The knowledge, the tool, the boredom, and the pain. All the components are in place. You retreat from the world into your grief and your books. You are now, in your widowhood, the perfect candidate for a new and very different kind of job. You are in this quiet, gray world of widowhood, your life defined by your loss and your infant daughter. The political and social world of the capital, with all its color and intrigue, seems very far away. You are, by the standards of your time, finished. You are respectfully obscure. You spend your days reading your father's old Chinese texts and your Buddhist sutras, perhaps contemplating the day when you, like many widows, will shave your head and become a Buddhist nun, formally renouncing a world that has already in many ways renounced you. Then a messenger arrives. This is not a social call, this is an official summons. It comes from the single most powerful man in Japan, a man who isn't the emperor, but who effectively owns the emperor. His name is Fujiwara no Michinaga. This is the mainstream historical fact that will define the rest of your life. You are about to go to work for the Machiavelli of the Heian period. Michinaga is the absolute apex of the Fujiwara clan's power. He has systematically and ruthlessly outmaneuvered all his rivals, his brothers and his nephews, securing the position of Kampaku or imperial regent. He is the grandfather of the next emperor and the one after that. This is a man so secure in his power that he famously wrote a poem that is, without question, the least humble brag in all of human history. This world, I think, is indeed my world. Like the full moon I shine, uncovered by any cloud. This is not a man who makes suggestions, he gives commands, and he has heard of you. How? Your father, Tamatoki, is a known scholar. Your late husband, Nobutaka, was a known courtier. But more than that, you have a reputation. It's a quiet, complex one. You are known for your sublime poetry. You are known for your quiet, deep intellect. And in the circles that matter, it's whispered that you have the one thing no other woman has. A true, deep, unfeminine mastery of classical Chinese. Michinaga is many things, but he is not a fool. He is a master political producer, and he is casting a show. Here's the situation. Michinaga has just succeeded in a major political coup. He has managed to have his very young daughter, Shoshi, also known as Akiko, appointed as Chugu, or Middle Empress, a co-empress really, to the reigning Emperor Ichijo. Shoshi is perhaps 12 or 13 years old. She is now at the palace, and she needs a court. Michinaga's entire political future rests on his daughter. He needs her to be successful. He needs her to win the emperor's favor. And in the Heian period, you don't do that with armies. You do it with taste. He is determined to build a salon around his daughter that is so blindingly brilliant, so artistically prestigious, and so intellectually vibrant that it becomes the undisputed center of cultural gravity. He is in short headhunting, and he wants you. Around 1005 or 1006 AD, the offer is made. You are to come to court as a nyobo, a lady-in-waiting, in the household of Empress Shoshi. Your official job description is vague. Companion, tutor, perhaps a sort of high-ranking social secretary. Your real job is to be one of the star intellectuals of her court. You are to be witty. You are to be poetically gifted. You are to add your luster to Shoshi's reputation. It's a lifeline. It is a way out of the gray world of widowhood and back into the absolute center of the universe. So you go. You leave your daughter in the care of your family, and you are carried in a curtained palanquin through the imposing earthen-walled gates of the Heian Palace and then deeper into the dairy, or inner palace, the nested walled-off world where the imperial family lives. This is the Kokyu, the rear palace, a labyrinth of unpainted cypress wood buildings, covered walkways, and meticulously raked gravel courtyards. It's beautiful, it's sterile, and it's 90% female. Here's a quirky tidbit about your new job. You are now a salaried employee. Your pay doesn't come in coin. It comes in bolts of silk and, more importantly, fiefs of rice. You are allotted the tax revenue from a certain number of households in a distant province, which is what you live on. Your status is also displayed in the quality of the junihito, the 12-layer robes that you are granted by the Empress. Your clothing literally is your compensation package, and everyone can see your exact rank just by the color of your cuffs. You are now in the most exclusive, high-stakes, and judgmental workplace on Earth. You are surrounded by hundreds of other women, all of whom are watching you, judging your handwriting, your poetry, and the way you blend your incense. And historians still argue about your true function. Was she just a companion? Or was she, as she herself hints in her diary, hired for a secret, almost subversive purpose? She records that she gave Empress Shoshi quiet, clandestine lessons in the poetry of Bai Juyi, reading from the great Chinese classics. This was that forbidden male knowledge. It's possible Michinaga hired you not just to be a star, but to be a secret tutor, giving his daughter the forbidden intellectual armor of a man. You are no longer grieving. You are a player, and you are about to meet the competition. You are now a player, but you are a junior player on a brand new team. And the competition you're about to meet is not just one person, but an entire, established, and deeply beloved rival court. Your new boss, Empress Shoshi, is the new girl. She has all the money and power of her father, Michinaga, behind her. Her apartments are new, the silks are the finest, the incense is the most expensive. But she is walking into a situation of almost unbearable tension. The emperor, Ichijo, already has an empress, and he is in love with her. Her name is Empress Teishi, also known as Sadako. And this is the central mainstream fact of your new political reality. Fujiwara no Michinaga, in his quest for total dominance, has forced the court to accept an unprecedented two-empress system. Teishi was the daughter of Michinaga's older brother, Michitaka. When Michitaka was in power, Teishi was his shining star. She was made empress, Kogo, and the emperor adored her. Her salon was the center of the universe, renowned for its brilliance, its wit, and its sophistication. Then disaster struck her family. Her father, Michitaka, died. Her brothers were disgraced and exiled in a political scandal, driven, of course, by your boss's father, Michinaga. Teishi was left isolated, politically powerless, and grieving. She even cut her hair, signaling an intent to become a nun, but the emperor still loved her. He refused to cast her aside. So, Michinaga, in a move of stunning political ruthlessness, found a loophole. He couldn't depose Teishi, so he just invented a new parallel title. He declared that Teishi could keep her old title of Kogo, illustrious consort, while his own daughter, Shoshi, would be given the new title of Chugu, Middle Empress. Both titles effectively meant empress. It was a legal fiction, a bureaucratic power play that fooled no one. The entire court was now split in two. You have the old guard, Empress Teishi's salon located in the Corridon, the Paulownia chamber. And you have the new guard, your salon, Empress Shoshi's, in the Shigeisha, the Wisteria chamber. You are now in a cold war fought with miyabi, or courtly elegance. This isn't a battle of armies. It's a battle of aesthetics. Which empress can attract the most brilliant poets? Which one can host the most sublime moon viewing party? Which one has ladies in waiting like you, who can produce the most heartbreakingly perfect waka poem on demand, or reply to a gentleman's advance with the wittiest, most devastating put-down? The emperor, a gentle, scholarly man, is caught in the middle. He dutifully visits your boss, the new, young, politically mandated Empress Shoshi, but his heart, as everyone knows, is still with Teishi. This is what you're up against. Teishi's salon isn't just established, it's legendary. And here's the quirky tidbit that perfectly illustrates the vibe. Empress Teishi's court was so favored, so intimate with the emperor, that the emperor's personal, beloved cat lived there. This cat was so pampered that it was granted the 5th court rank, the rank of a minor nobleman, and was given its own title, Myobu no Otodo, or the chief lady-in-waiting. It had its own attendants and was, by all accounts, a very proud and well-fed animal. This is what you're competing with. You're trying to build a new, vibrant salon from scratch, while the rival court literally has the emperor's noble-ranked pet cat living in its chambers. It's the ultimate symbol of domestic established power. Historians still argue about the personal nature of this rivalry. Were the two young empresses, Shoshi was a child, Teishi barely out of her teens, bitter personal enemies? Or were they, as seems more likely, just two intelligent, lonely young women, trapped as the public faces of their male relatives' savage political war? Your diary, which you will write later, is famously discreet. You are, after all, on the winning team. But the tension is real. You are the new money bought and paid for by Michinaga. They are the old aristocracy, tragic, romantic, and dripping with established cultural cachet. And they have a weapon. They have a star player, a nyobo just like you, but who is in every way your polar opposite. A woman whose reputation for brilliance and sharp-witted genius is known throughout the capital. She is the mind that made Teishi's salon the legend it is. You are the quiet, introspective, scholarly widow who learned male Chinese in secret. She is a dazzling, assertive, incredibly funny, and supremely confident social commentator. Her name is Sei Shonagon, and she has already written the book that defines the era. You are the quiet scholar, the widow, the secret intellectual. You are defined by your hidden depths, and the star of the rival court, Empress Taishi's court, is defined by her brilliant, flashing, and incredibly public surface. Her name is Sei Shonagon, and she is, in every conceivable way, your opposite. Where you are introspective, she is observational. Where you are empathetic, she is judgmental. Where you are a novelist, she is, for lack of a better modern term, the world's first and greatest blogger. She is the woman who has defined the literary scene you've just entered, and she's done it with a book that is as different from your future novel as a bolt of lightning is from a deep river. She is the chief lady-in-waiting to the tragic Empress Taishi. She is older than you, more experienced, and supremely, dazzlingly confident. Her masterpiece is called the Makura no Soshi, or the Pillow Book. And no, it's not a diary. It's not a narrative. It's a zuihitsu, a collection of following the brush writings. It is, quite literally, just a compilation of every witty, strange, beautiful, or annoying thought that ever crossed her brilliant, magpie mind. This is the mainstream historical fact. The Pillow Book is a foundational text of Japanese literature, and it is a masterpiece of lists, anecdotes, and biting social commentary. You open it. What do you find? You find lists. Dozens and dozens of lists. She is the queen of the listicle. You find a chapter titled, Things That Make One's Heart Beat Faster, and her examples are perfect. Sparrows feeding their young, to pass a place where babies are playing, to lie down alone in a room that is fragrant with incense, and then this singer, to have a lover who is visiting you hidden behind a screen, and you can hear the sound of the senior courtiers arriving and you are terrified, your heart pounding. She captures the exact Heian experience. Then you find a list of hateful things. It's a masterpiece of high-status irritation. Her number one complaint? A visitor who stays too long when you have something urgent to do, or a man who, after a night together, is clumsy and loud as he tries to find his fan and his papers in the dark before leaving. She hates a clumsy exit. Then you find her observations. She is a connoisseur of moments. She describes in breathless, perfect prose the beauty of a snowstorm on New Year's Day, or the precise, heartbreaking beauty of the moon at dawn. She sees everything, and she judges everything. She tells hilarious and frankly mean stories about rival women who wore the wrong color robe. She recounts, with smug satisfaction, a time when she and her ladies-in-waiting won a battle of wits against a visiting male courtier, leaving him flustered and humiliated. She is, in short, the ultimate cool girl of the Heian court. She is the one with the sharpest comeback, the best taste, and the most unshakable confidence. And here is the absolutely essential quirky tidbit. We know exactly what you, Murasaki Shikibu, thought of her, and you could not stand her. Years later, in your own private diary, which we'll get to, you let loose with one of the most blistering literary takedowns in history. You wrote, essentially, that Sei Shonagon is dreadfully conceited. You wrote that she thinks herself so clever and litters her writing with Chinese characters, which, coming from you, the secret master of Chinese, is the ultimate accusation of being a pretentious tryhard. You called her shallow, scatterbrained, and full of herself. And then, the final savage twist, someone who is so smug will surely come to a bad end. This is not the voice of a shy, retiring wallflower. This is the voice of a rival. This is the sound of one genius looking at another genius and seeing an existential threat. Historians still argue about this feud. Was it a deeply personal, bitter hatred between two women forced into competition? Was Murasaki, writing after Taishi's court had fallen and Shonagon was gone, simply jealous of the blazing, uncomplicated success Sei had enjoyed? Or was it a fundamental, philosophical disagreement about the purpose of art? Sei Shonagon believed literature was for capturing the brilliant, witty, beautiful surface of life. You, Murasaki, believed it was for plumbing the dark, complex, contradictory depths. Sei Shonagon is all about the shirazu, the knowing, the witty, the clever. You are about to become the master of mono aware, the pathos of things, the deep, empathetic sadness of life. Sei Shonagon's book is a collection of perfect, polished, static moments. It's a photo album. You're about to invent the movie. You are in this pressurized court. The rival salon has this superstar, this dazzling wit. Your boss, the young Empress Shoshi, needs to compete. Her father, Michinaga, is pouring resources into her salon, hoping to make it the center of the world. And you, his quiet scholarly recruit, are watching and listening and thinking. Sei Shonagon has perfected the list. What if you tried something else? What if you told a story? So you are in this silent, beautifully appointed room in this cold war of culture. Your team, Empress Shoshi's team, has the money. The other team, Empress Teishi's, has the established prestige and the dazzling, witty superstar, Sei Shonagon, who wrote the Pillow Book. Your boss's father, the Regent Michinaga, is a man who does not tolerate second place. He has stacked his daughter's court with the best poets, the best musicians, and you, his secret weapon, the woman who can read Chinese. But why? What is the point of all this? What is he? And what is your young empress expecting you to do? The answer is twofold. The first is grand, political, and public. The second is intimate, personal, and desperate. The grand reason is prestige. This is the mainstream historical fact of your entire job. You are not just a companion, you are a cultural asset. In the Heian court, art is not a hobby, it's a weapon. A political win is not conquering a province, it's hosting a poetry contest where your salon's poems are judged to be more sublime, more innovative than your rivals. The emperor himself, Ichijo, is a gentle, scholarly man who is said to be a brilliant flute player. He is not going to be won over by political maneuvering. He is bored by it. He will, however, be completely captivated by a woman who can discuss the obscure finer points of a Chinese poem, or who can compose a flawless, heartbreaking waka on the spot. Michinaga knows this. He is trying to build a brand for his daughter Shoshi. Teishi's salon with Sei Shonagon has the brand of being clever, witty, and dazzling. Michinaga wants Shoshi's brand to be deep, scholarly, and profound. He wants her to be the intellectual center of the world. He wants poets and male courtiers to say, "The talk at Teishi's is fun, sure, but the conversation at Shoshi's, now that is true elegance. That is real depth." You are the key to that brand. You are there to make his daughter look smart. Your job is to produce the content that will make her salon the one everyone is talking about. But that's only half the story. The other reason, the more pressing and human reason, is boredom. You are all so very bored. You cannot imagine the depth of the boredom. Your life is a repeating loop of aesthetic perfection. You wake up. You have your eyebrows painted on and your teeth blackened. You get encased in your 40-pound robe, and then you wait. You wait for the emperor to visit. You wait for a ceremony to begin. You wait for a letter to arrive. You are not allowed to go outside. You are not allowed to see the real world. So, what do you do to pass the time? You play games. But these are Heian games, so they are of course crushingly aesthetic and complex. A popular one is Kayawase, the shell-matching game. This is a quirky tidbit. It's not just find the two halves that match. No, that would be too simple. This is clamshell contest. You have 360 individual clamshells, each one painstakingly hand-painted on the inside with a scene from a famous poem or tale. The shells are split. All the right halves are piled in the center. You and the other ladies have the left halves. You take turns trying to find the one matching half from the massive pile that completes your painted scene. It's a game of memory, connoisseurship, and poetry, and a single set, painted by a master artist, is worth a modern fortune. And you play it for hours. Or you have incense blending contests, takemono aways, where you spend days grinding sandalwood, cloves, and secret ingredients trying to create a new original scent that perfectly evokes, say, snow on a pine branch. It's all very beautiful. And it is all, at its core, a way to kill time. You are women with complex minds, deep emotions, and zero agency. You are living in a world of pure feeling, with no action. You are starved, absolutely starved, for narrative. You don't want to just match a shell with a painting of a poem. You want to know what happened next. You want to read about people who do things, people who make choices, even bad ones, people who have scandalous love affairs, who feel jealous rage, who scheme, who travel, who live lives filled with dramatic events. This is the void you are being asked to fill. Historians still argue whether Murasaki chose to write Genji on her own, as a private passion, or whether it was a direct, formal commission from Michinaga, who saw this narrative starvation and tasked his star intellectual with creating a killer app for his daughter's salon. The truth is probably a mix of both. In her diary, she mentions that the Empress wanted new stories to read. She complains that the old monogatari, the tales, are stale and old-fashioned. The Moon Princess stuff we talked about. She wants something new. And you, Murasaki, are uniquely positioned to deliver. You have the hiragana script, the female hand perfect for describing the intimate, emotional world of these bored women. But you also have the male education. You have read the grand, sweeping, complex-plotted historical epics from China. You have a sense of story structure that no other woman in the court possesses. The other women can write diaries, feelings. They can write lists, observations. You, and only you, can write an epic. You can take the grand scale of a male Chinese history and fuse it with the intimate, psychological depth of a female Japanese diary. You've got the commission. You've got the motive, both the political, prestige, and the personal, boredom. You've got the tools. You just need the subject. And you're going to write what you know, but you're going to make it beautiful. You're about to write, but you have to understand the emotional and aesthetic language of your audience. You can't just write a story. You have to write a story that proves your boss, Empress Shoshi, is the queen of taste. You have to speak the language of the hothouse. And this language has two essential untranslatable words that define your entire universe. The first is miyabi. The second is mono no aware. These two concepts are the twin pillars of your world, and your novel will become the ultimate textbook for both. First, miyabi. We've translated this as courtly elegance, but it's so much more than that. It is the core of your social identity. It is a complete all-encompassing aesthetic ideology. The simplest way to understand miyabi is that it's the absolute total rejection of anything rustic, provincial, or crude. It is the opposite of the hinabitaru, the countrified. It is the belief that refinement, sensitivity, and beauty are the only things that make a person worthwhile. In your world, a man can be a brave warrior or a successful farmer, but if his handwriting is clumsy, he is, to you, subhuman. He is a joke. This is the mainstream historical fact. Your social, political, and even moral worth was judged almost entirely on your aesthetic refinement. Can you, at the drop of a hat, compose a 5-line waka poem that perfectly captures the fleeting mood of the evening, using a clever pun, and then write it down on the precisely correct shade of scented paper, perhaps faded crimson for an autumn evening, in flawless, flowing hiragana script? If you can't, you are a failure. Can you recognize by scent alone which of your colleagues has just walked past the screen, purely by the signature blend of aloes wood and clove in her personal incense? You must. The most extreme example of miyabi is the one you wear every day, the junihido, the 12-layer robe. This is a brilliant, quirky tidbit. The 12 layers were not just 12 random robes. They were an incredibly complex, preordained system of layered colors called kasein no irome, layered color combinations. These combinations had poetic names and were strictly dictated by the season, the event, and even the specific plant that was blooming that month. In spring, you might wear plum blossom of the underside, a combination of a white outer robe with a crimson-red robe underneath, creating a subtle pink glow. But if you wore that combination a week after the plum blossoms had fallen, you would be laughed out of the room. It was a sign that you were insensitive to the passage of time, that your heart was crude. Your entire soul was judged by the 1 centimeter wide strip of layered colors visible at your cuff. This is the world Sei Shonagon, your rival, captured in her pillow book. Her book is a celebration of miyabi. It's a catalog of elegant things and a list of hateful things that fail the Miyabi test. Her world is sharp, bright, witty, and judgmental. But then there is the other word, the one that is your territory. Mono no aware. If Miyabi is the bright, judgmental what of your culture, mono no aware is the deep, empathetic why. It translates, imperfectly, as the pathos of things, the sensitivity to ephemera, or the bitter sweetness of transience. It is the profound, gentle, and deeply felt sadness that everything, absolutely everything, is impermanent. And it is the belief that this very impermanence is what makes things beautiful. You live this feeling. You are a widow. You know what sudden loss feels like. You live in a capital built of unpainted wood. You know that fire and earthquakes can, and do, destroy it all in an instant. You see plagues like the one that killed your husband sweep through and kill a third of the court. You see political fortunes turn overnight. Empress Taishi's family is the perfect example. One day they are all powerful. The next, they are exiled, disgraced, and dead. Nothing lasts. So, when you look at a perfect full cherry blossom, you don't just think, how pretty. You think, how beautiful. Because in 3 days the wind will come and it will be gone forever. That ache in your heart, that fusion of beauty and sadness, that is mono no aware. When you see the full moon, you feel a pang of sadness because you know it is already beginning to wane. When you have a perfect secret night with a lover, the passion is so intense precisely because you know the rooster will crow, he will leave before dawn. Remember that morning after poem? And he may never choose to visit you again. The joy is inseparable from the sorrow. Historians still argue whether mono no aware was a genuine, widespread philosophical feeling across the court, or if it was an aesthetic pose, a kind of luxury belief adopted by an incredibly leisured and bored upper class to make their elegant lives feel more profound and tragic. But for you, it is real. And you are about to create a story that is the ultimate exploration of these two ideas. You will invent a hero, the Shining Prince, who is the living, breathing, walking embodiment of Miyabi. He is perfect, the most beautiful man, the most gifted poet, the best dancer, the most sensitive lover, the master of all arts. He is the ultimate ideal. And then, you will place this perfect man into a 1,000-page, 54-chapter story that is a devastating, slow-burn meditation on mono no aware. You will watch as this shining prince has everything and loses everything. You will watch him break every heart and have his own heart broken. You will watch his beauty fade, his loves die, and his world crumble. You are going to write a story about Miyabi, but it will be powered by mono no aware. You have the language, you have the theme. Now, you just need the first spark. You have the intellectual armor of a man and the emotional flowing script of a woman. You have the ultimate aesthetic guideposts, the bright, judgmental Miyabi, and the deep, sad mono no aware. You are in the most pressurized, competitive, and bored room on the planet. Your empress needs content. Your rival, Sei Shonagon, has already cornered the market on witty lists. You are ready. You have all the ingredients. You just need the first spark of inspiration. And 1,000 years later, a beautiful, perfect legend will tell us exactly how it happened. This is the story that has been told for centuries. It is the mainstream historical fact of Genji's origin, or at least the official version. In the 8th month of the year 1004, you are on a pilgrimage. You have left the capital, a rare and significant event. You have traveled to Ishiyama-dera, the Stone Mountain Temple, a beautiful, sprawling complex built on a mountainside overlooking Lake Biwa, Japan's largest and most famous lake. This isn't a vacation, it's a mono-imi, a religious retreat. You are there to pray to Kannon, the Bodhisattva of mercy, the temple's main deity who is famously granting of wishes. What are you praying for? We don't know. For your father's political success? For your daughter's health? Or perhaps, as your patron Michinaga was rumored to have requested, you are praying for Empress Shoshi to finally conceive a son, the heir that would cement her family's power forever. You are there for several days, living the austere, quiet life of a pilgrim. You are in a small room in the temple high on the hill, It is the night of the 15th of the 8th month, the night of the Jugoya, the perfect harvest full moon. The sky is clear, the air is still. You sit at the open veranda of your room, the polished wooden floor cool beneath you, and you look out. Below you, the vast, dark, mirror-smooth surface of Lake Biwa stretches to the horizon, and in that dark mirror, the brilliant white autumn moon is reflected perfectly. It's a vision of almost impossible, unearthly beauty. It is a moment of pure, undiluted mono-no-aware. The beauty is so perfect, so profound, that it is almost painful. It is the ache of transience itself. And in that moment, as you stare at the moon on the water, you feel a surge of profound, empathetic sadness. But you are not just sad for yourself. You are sad for him, a character, a man who does not yet exist, but who is now, in this second, springing into your mind, fully formed. You imagine a prince, a shining prince, the most beautiful, most elegant, most Miyabi man in the world. And you imagine him not at the peak of his power, but in his darkest moment. You imagine him in exile, banished from the capital, living in a rustic hut by the sea in a place called Suma. You imagine him, this perfect man, staring at this same lonely moon, wondering if he will ever see the capital again. The legend says you were so overcome with this vision, so possessed by this new story that you could not wait. You asked the temple monks for paper and an inkstone immediately, and right there in that room by the light of that same full moon, you picked up your brush, dipped it in the freshly ground ink and began to write. You didn't start at the beginning. You started right in the middle, in the white-hot center of the emotion. You started with the Suma chapters, the most poetic and tragic section of your entire story. You started with the scene of your banished hero, looking at the moon, just as you were. This is the legend. And here is the quirky tidbit. The temple of Ishiyama-dera has never let this story go. Why would they? It's the greatest piece of literary marketing in history. To this very day, if you visit the temple, you can enter the Genji no Ma, the Genji room. It is the very room, they claim, where she sat. Inside, you will find a small, dimly lit space, preserved as it supposedly was. In the corner sits a life-sized painted doll of Murasaki Shikibu at her low writing desk, brush poised, looking out the window at the lake. It is a national shrine to the moment of creation. It is the George Washington slept here of Japanese literature, and it has been a wildly popular pilgrimage site for 1,000 years. But is it true? Historians still argue whether this elegant legend is historical fact or a beautiful after-the-fact invention. It's almost too perfect, isn't it? The holy site, the goddess of mercy, the perfect full moon, the divine flash of inspiration that gives birth to the world's greatest novel. It's a wonderful story, but the truth is probably messier. It's much more likely that you had been toying with the idea for months. You probably wrote some shorter, self-contained stories about this shining prince, perhaps about his childhood or one of his early love affairs. You likely read them aloud to your empress, Shoshi, and her other ladies-in-waiting, and they, starved for new content, were hooked. They were the first Genji fans. What happens next, they demanded. When is the next chapter? The legend of the moon at Ishiyama-dera is the clean, poetic origin. The reality is that you were a writer, on a deadline, with a very demanding audience. You were, in essence, the head writer of a prestige television show, and your new chapters were the equivalent of a new episode dropping. But whether it was a divine flash or a slow, iterative burn, the result was the same. You had to write. And the physical act of writing in your world was not as simple as opening a laptop. It was a slow, expensive, and deeply physical process. You have the divine spark, the vision of the moon on the lake, the character of the shining, exiled prince. Now you have to do the work. And the work, in 1004 AD, is a slow, expensive, and physically demanding art form. You can't just flip open a laptop and start typing. Every single word is a deliberate, costly, and permanent act of creation. The physical object of your novel is just as much a part of the Miyabi as the story itself. First, you need your tools. You don't just grab a pen. You approach your low, lacquered wood writing desk, the bundai. On it sits your suzuribako, Your writing box, itself a masterpiece of inlaid mother-of-pearl or gold-makey lacquer. You open it. Inside is not a pen, but a set of carefully curated instruments. You have your feud, your brush, a delicate fine-tipped tool made of weasel or rabbit hair, set in a slender bamboo handle. You have your sumi, the ink stick. This is not liquid ink in a bottle. It is a solid block of compressed pine soot and animal glue, often perfumed with a hint of musk or camphor. And you have your suzuri, the inkstone, a heavy flat carved piece of dark slate with a small well for water. The act of writing begins with a ritual. You take your suiteki, a tiny beautiful ceramic water dropper, and let a few precise drops of water fall into the inkstone's well. Then you pick up the ink stick, and you grind. You move the stick in a slow, patient circular motion, grinding the soot into the water. This is not a fast process. It takes minutes. It is a meditation. As you grind, the faint, earthy, and slightly sweet smell of the ink rises. It is the smell of creation. You are making your medium. You test the ink's consistency. Too watery, and it will blot and run on the paper. Too thick and your brush will not flow. It must be perfect. Now the paper. This is the real luxury. You are not writing on a cheap disposable notepad. You are writing on washi, handmade Japanese paper, likely gampishi, a type of paper prized for its incredible smoothness, resilience, and pale creamy luster. It's made from the inner bark of the gampi shrub, a laborious hand-pulped process. It is, sheet for sheet, phenomenally expensive. This is the mainstream historical fact. Paper was a high-status luxury good. To write a 1,000-page story was an act of conspicuous consumption, like building a small palace. This is why your patron, Michinaga, is so crucial. He isn't just your champion, he is your supplier. He is funding this massive, expensive project, providing you with the endless bolts of silk and, just as importantly, the endless reams of precious paper. And you are not writing a book as we know it. The codex, pages bound on one side, doesn't exist in your world. Your story will be formatted in one of two ways, either as kansuso, hand scrolls, or more likely as dichoso, also called orihan, which are fan-folded albums. This is a quirky tidbit. The Tale of Genji was almost certainly produced as a series of 54 separate, thin, beautiful books. A single long sheet of paper was folded back and forth like an accordion, and then bound at the front and back with a heavy, silk-covered cover. Each chapter was its own, self-contained physical object. This is why we call them chapters or books. Each one literally was a book. Now you sit. Your posture is perfect. You dip your brush into the fresh black ink. You bring it to the paper. This paper is probably not even white. It might be karakami, imported tang paper with a faint pattern, or paper dyed a pale, elegant shade of plum or willow green, perhaps even decorated with tiny flecks of gold leaf. You begin to write. Your hand moves in that fluid, flowing women's hand hiragana, and you cannot make a mistake. There is no delete key. There is no backspace. There is no correction fluid. If your hand trembles, if a drop of ink falls from your brush, if you form one hiragana character clumsily, the entire expensive sheet is ruined. The pressure is almost unimaginable. You are not just a writer, you are a master calligrapher, performing a final, perfect copy. You almost certainly composed the draft of the chapter on shukushi, cheaper, recycled scrap paper, and now you are executing the final, flawless presentation copy for the Empress. Historians still argue about this process of publication. Did you write all 54 chapters in a great isolated burst and then present the whole novel? Almost certainly not. The novel is massive. The much more likely scenario is that you were writing in installments, serialized, like a modern-day prestige TV show. You would finish a chapter, the broom tree, lavender, Murasaki, Suma. You would perform this perfect calligraphic copy. It would be sent to the palace binders, who would paste the accordion-folded pages into their covers of patterned blue or purple silk. And then this one, slim, beautiful, and brand new volume, would be presented to Empress Shoshi, and the court would go wild. You've done it. You've finished the first installment. Maybe it's the broom tree chapter, maybe it's the shell of the cicada. The expensive Gampi paper, folded like an accordion, has been bound in a cover of deep purple silk. A single, perfect title, written in your flawless hand, adorns the cover. A servant carries it with all the reverence of a holy text into the apartments of Empress Shoshi. And the court stops. The Kayawase shells are forgotten. The koto is left unplucked. The ladies of the salon, your colleagues, your rivals, your audience, gather around, and your young Empress, Shoshi, begins to read aloud. And so, for the first time, the world meets him. The hero, the man you dreamed of under the moon at Ishiyama-dera. He is Prince Hikaru Genji, the Hikaru no Kimi, or Shining Prince. And he is, without question, the most perfect man who has ever lived. He is the walking, breathing, flawless embodiment of Miyabi. You have created a character who is not just handsome or talented, he is superhumanly, divinely perfect. His face is so beautiful that he is called Shining. His every movement is grace itself. He is a master poet, a calligrapher whose brushstrokes make women weep. He is a painter, a musician who can bring a room to tears with his flute, a dancer whose Blue Sea Waves performance is so sublime it seems to summon the gods. He even smells perfect, possessing a natural, otherworldly fragrance that clings to his robes. He is the ultimate romantic fantasy, the sum total of every aesthetic ideal your hothouse world has ever dreamed up. But here is the twist. This is the mainstream historical fact that kicks off the entire sprawling 1,000-page story. This perfect man has a deeply imperfect and tragic beginning. He is the second son of the emperor, but his mother, the Kiritsubo consort, is a low-ranking gentlewoman with no political connections, no powerful family like the Fujiwara to back her up. The emperor adores her, prefers her, above all his other, more high-ranking wives. And this in the Heian court is not a romance, it's a disaster. The other consorts, especially the powerful high-born Kokiden lady, are consumed with a vicious, brutal jealousy. They torment Genji's mother. They bully her, they insult her, they leave trash in the hallways she must walk through. They harass her so relentlessly that, broken by the stress, she falls ill and dies just a few years after Genji is born. This is the psychological wound at the center of your perfect hero. He is the adored son, but he is also the politically vulnerable motherless child. His father, the emperor, in his grief, removes him from the line of succession by demoting him to a commoner, with the new surname Genji, or Minamoto. This is meant to protect him from the political enemies his mother faced, but it leaves him in a strange, ambiguous social position for the rest of his life. So, your audience is hooked. They have a tragic, beautiful, perfect, but damaged hero. And then, you drop the first bomb. The emperor, mourning his dead wife, hears of a new princess who is said to be her exact double. Her name is Fujitsubo. He summons her to court and marries her. She becomes his new favorite consort, and Genji, now a young boy, sees her, and she is the perfect image of his dead mother. He becomes obsessed. This is the great, scandalous, central taboo of the entire first half of the novel. Genji, your hero, falls desperately, pathologically in love with his father's new wife, his new stepmother. Imagine the gasps in Empress Shoshi's salon. This is not a moon princess story. This is not the tales of Issei. This is high stakes, psychologically fraught, deeply forbidden, and incredibly messy human drama. And it's just the beginning. The story follows Genji as he grows, and he is a disaster. He is a serial womanizer. He has affairs with high-born ladies, low-born attendants, other men's wives. He's charming, yes, but he's also reckless, selfish, and driven by this hole in his heart, this unending quest for the mother he lost, which he now projects onto every woman he meets. And this is the quirky tidbit. Your story becomes a sensation, instantly. You are not just a writer, you are a superstar. You are writing in installments, and the court is addicted. The demand for new chapters is so intense that you literally can't write fast enough. In your diary, you complain about it. You write that when you finished a new chapter, people don't even let you proofread and clean up the draft. They snatch the raw, uncopied version right out of your hands. They are so desperate to find out what happens next. The Regent Michinaga himself, your ultimate boss, is recorded as stopping by your rooms, picking up a work in progress, and saying, "Our shining prince seems to be having a lot of adventures," before taking it to read. It's the 11th century equivalent of a showrunner having the head of the studio steal their raw footage. Historians still argue about the story's initial reception. Was it just a titillating high-class soap opera? Was it the Bridgerton of its day, a scandalous escapist fantasy for bored, cloistered women? Or was it, as many scholars now believe, a far more serious, subversive, and moral work? Was it a profound Buddhist critique of kama, lust, and the inescapable, suffering-filled wheel of life? Were you celebrating Genji's Miyabi, or were you using his perfection to show that even the most perfect man is a slave to his passions, creating a wake of suffering, mostly for the women around him, wherever he goes? The answer, of course, is both. And that is what makes it a novel. The court is obsessed. You are no longer just the daughter from ceremonies. You are Murasaki, the name of your own heroine, the author of the story everyone is talking about. You have single-handedly justified your entire salon's existence. You have given Empress Shoshi the ultimate cultural weapon. But in doing so, you have also created a monster, an audience. A rabid, insatiable audience that wants more. The consumption of your story is nothing like modern private reading. This is the mainstream historical fact. These new chapters were not read silently in a corner. They were performed. A new, silk-bound, accordion-folded chapter would arrive. The ladies of Shoshi's salon would gather, their 40-pound robes rustling as they settled onto their silk cushions. The air would be thick with anticipation, and the scent of their signature incense blends. And then, one person, maybe the Empress herself or perhaps you as the author, would begin to read aloud. This is not a quiet, academic reading. This is a live, communal, emotional event. Imagine you are in that room listening to your own words being read. You hear the collective, sharp intake of breath when Genji, your perfect hero, makes his first, disastrously selfish move. You hear the stifled sobs, the fluttering of fans to hide tears during a particularly heartbreaking poem about Mono no Aware. You hear the whispering, "He didn't." "Oh, but he did. She's far too good for him." Can you believe he said that to her? This is not a passive audience. It's a real-time focus group, a live tweet session happening in the 11th century. The story isn't just a text, it's a social lubricant, the fuel for weeks of gossip, debate, and passionate analysis. Your novel is, in every sense, the prestige TV of its day. And just like a hit show, it immediately breaks containment. It doesn't stay within the walls of Empress Shoshi's salon. Your boss, Michinaga, the regent, is, as we noted, a massive fan. He comes by to get the latest episode and takes it back to his own mansion to read, to show off. The Shining Prince is his cultural property, a product of his salon, and he's flaunting his access. This is how the story spreads. Other high-ranking men hear of it. They beg for a copy. And this leads to the ultimate quirky tidbit, the rise of the bootleg. Your story is so popular that you can't produce official copies fast enough. Remember, every single copy has to be transcribed by hand, a process that takes weeks. The demand is so high that unauthorized samizdat copies begin to circulate. A lady from another salon gets her hands on a chapter for one night. She has her personal attendants, who have good handwriting, stay up all night, frantically copying it down before it has to be returned. The result? These pirated copies are full of errors. Characters are transcribed wrong. Whole passages are skipped. You, the author, are horrified. In your diary, you write about this with the specific, acidic irritation of a true artist. You complain about visiting a noblewoman's house and seeing one of these bad copies of Genji on her table full of mistakes. You are disgusted. It is the 11th century equivalent of a director finding out people are watching a bootleg of their movie, filmed on a cell phone, with terrible sound and half the scenes missing. It's a sign of your success, but it's infuriating. And the pressure on you, the showrunner, is immense. The story is a serial, and you are writing it as you go. You are essentially living with your fans. And they are not patient. In your diary, you write about how the ladies of the court, and even the emperor himself, are constantly pestering you. When is the next chapter? What happens to Genji at Suma? Surely he doesn't stay with her. They hang around your desk, they try to peek at your drafts. They flatter you, trying to wheedle spoilers out of you. You have created the world's first literary fandom, and they are demanding. Historians still argue about the exact mechanics of this publication. Was it really this chaotic, with bootlegs and stolen drafts? Or did Michinaga, seeing the sensation he had on his hands, quickly professionalize the operation? Did he set up a scriptorium, a team of the best calligraphers in the capital, working under your direct supervision, to produce official authorized copies that could be distributed as strategic, high-status gifts? It's very likely the truth is a mix of both. It started as a salon sensation and quickly became a state-sponsored cultural phenomenon. It was the thing, the one story everyone had to have read. But why? It wasn't just the juicy, scandalous plots. It wasn't just the miyabi and the mono no aware. It was something deeper. It was the way you told it. You were doing something with your brush and your hiragana script that no one, in any language, had ever done before. You were not just showing what people did. You were showing what they thought. This is the central question. Why is this story so addictive? Why did it not only dominate your court but also endure for 1,000 years? It's not just the scandals, though those helped. It's not just the beautiful descriptions of robes and incense, though that set the scene. It's because you were doing something with your brush that no one, anywhere in the world, had ever done before. You were inventing psychological realism. This is the great leap, the bright line that separates Genji from everything that came before it. This is why it is the world's first true novel. Before your story, literature was about what people did. Remember the tale of the bamboo cutter? A princess is found in a bamboo stalk. She gives men impossible quests. She weeps. She ascends to the moon. Why? The story doesn't say. She is a beautiful, magical black box. We see her actions from a great distance. Remember the tales of Issei? A man was traveling. He saw a woman. He felt a pang. He wrote a poem. The pang is stated, not explored. It's a label for an emotion, not the emotion itself. You are not interested in the label. You are interested in the anatomy of the feeling. This is the mainstream historical fact. The Tale of Genji is the first work of long-form prose to make the inner, psychological, and emotional life of its characters its primary subject. You are not a storyteller. You are a psychologist. You use your hiragana, that fluid female script, to do something revolutionary. You don't just tell us Genji was sad. You take us inside Genji's mind as the sadness is happening. You show us the process of his thought. You'll write something like, he saw the last patch of snow melting by the cypress tree, and it reminded him of the white robes his mother wore the last time he saw her, which made him suddenly feel so cold and alone that the witty poem his companion had just composed now seemed hollow and irritating. This is light years beyond. He felt a pang. This is a complex, multi-step internal chain of cause and effect. It is, in its earliest form, stream of consciousness. You are showing how memory blends with sensory input to create a complex, contradictory emotional state. No one had ever written like this before. You are the first author to understand that a person can feel 2 or even 3 contradictory things at the same time. And this is what makes your hero, Genji, so infuriating and so real. He is not a hero in the epic sense. He is not Gilgamesh or Achilles. He is a person, a deeply, profoundly, beautifully flawed person. He is a walking contradiction. One moment he is the perfect embodiment of Miyabi, weeping with genuine, deep-feeling mono no aware at the beauty of a falling blossom. He is sensitive, he is kind, he is empathetic. Then, in the very next chapter, he can be a selfish, predatory, narcissistic monster. He will become obsessed with a woman, pursue her relentlessly, use all his charm and status to break down her defenses, and then, the moment he has conquered her, he feels bored. He feels trapped, and his attention wanders, leaving her heartbroken. You are the first author to write a hero who is, very often, the villain of his own story. You are showing your audience of bored court ladies the reality of the men they whisper about. You are showing them the psychological machinery behind the poetic flatteries and the dashing morning-after poems. And here is the most radical part. You don't just do this for Genji. You do it for the women. This is a stunning, revolutionary act. The women in your story are not just plot devices, not just conquests for your hero. They are subjects. They are complete, complex, brilliant, and often tragic human beings. Every bit as psychologically deep as Genji himself, if not more so. This is a quirky tidbit. Many of the most famous and important female characters in your novel are never given names. This isn't an accident or a sign they are unimportant. It's a reflection of the courtly reality, where it was rude to use a woman's name, but you turn it into a profound literary device. The women are known by their titles, the Kokoden lady, their homes, the lady at Rokujo, or even by a single poetic detail, Yugao, the lady of the evening faces, named for the flower growing on her fence. By denying them a simple name, you force the reader to know them by their psychology. You can't label them, you must understand them. Historians still argue, and will always argue, the first novel question. Was it Genji? Or was it Don Quixote 600 years later? Or a 19th century European text? It all depends on your definition. If a novel must have a certain kind of plot structure or a focus on the middle class, then maybe not. But if a novel is a long-form prose narrative that finds its entire reason for being in the exploration of the complex, internal, contradictory, and realistic psychology of its characters, then there is no debate at all. You are the first. You are the inventor. Your book is Genesis. This radical new realism, however, means you cannot look away. You have opened the door to the human mind, and it is not all beautiful poems and mono no aware. It is also full of darkness. You have to write about the consequences of your hero's actions, and those consequences are often brutal. You've opened this door. You've shown your audience a human mind, and now you have to be honest about what's in it. And it is not all elegant, bittersweet, mono no aware. It's dark in there. It's full of obsession and selfishness and impulses that are, frankly, terrifying. And this is where your story becomes truly uncomfortably radical. Because the shining prince, your perfect hero, Hikaru Genji, is a problem. Let's not mince words. He is, by any modern standard and by a few of his own, a deeply problematic man, and in many instances, a predator. This is the uncomfortable truth you are laying bare for your courtly audience, women who are living this reality every day. This is the mainstream historical fact of your world. You live in a patriarchy so absolute it's almost invisible, like the air you breathe. Women, even high-born ones, are property. You have no legal identity. You cannot inherit property in your own right, not really. You are a political pawn for your father, who will marry you off to forge an alliance. You are a vessel for your husband to produce an heir. You live your entire life behind screens, a disembodied voice in a 40-pound robe. Your entire worth is tied to your miyabi and your connections. A man of Genji's rank, the beloved son of the emperor, is not bound by the same rules. He is in almost every sense above the law. A woman's no, spoken from behind a screen, is not a hard barrier. It is a social nicety, the beginning of a negotiation, a challenge to be overcome with more beautiful poetry, or, if that fails, sheer force of rank. Your romances are not meetings of equals, they are campaigns of pursuit and capture. And Genji is the grand champion. He is a serial adulterer. He relentlessly pursues other men's wives. He uses his charm, his power, and his social standing to overwhelm, cajole, and trap the women he desires. And you, the author, do not shy away from this. You show it in unblinking psychological detail. But there is one story, one relationship at the very heart of your novel that lays this all bare. It is the single most shocking and defining act of Genji's life. And it's not his affair with his stepmother. It's the story of the other Murasaki, the character who will become his greatest love, the one your adoring fans will name you after. This is the quirky and deeply unsettling tidbit at the novel's core. Genji kidnaps her. And she is a child. Here is how you write it. Genji is ill, suffering from malaria, and he travels to a rural mountain temple to be healed. While there, in classic Genji fashion, he's peeking through a fence. He sees a group of women, and among them, a 10-year-old girl of astonishing beauty. He is instantly captivated. He investigates. He discovers that this girl, Murasaki, is the orphan niece of Fujitsubo, his secret, forbidden stepmother lover. She is a substitute, a new version of the woman he can't have. And in that moment, he decides, I will have her. He doesn't think I will mentor her. He thinks I will acquire her, and I will raise her to be my perfect, ideal wife. He asks her guardian, her grandmother, for her. The grandmother is, quite rightly, horrified and tells him absolutely not. She's a baby. Genji, for once, is thwarted. So what does he do? He waits. He waits until the old woman dies. Then, under the cover of darkness, he goes to the house where the grieving, terrified 10-year-old is living. He lies to her attendants, saying he is honoring her grandmother's secret wish, and in the ensuing chaos he abducts the child and takes her back to his own palace in the capital. He installs this 10-year-old girl in a private, locked wing of his mansion. He becomes her sole guardian, her teacher, her older brother, her father figure. He educates her, buys her dolls, teaches her poetry and painting. He grooms her. He is, by all appearances, the perfect, gentle guardian. All the while he is just waiting for her to be ready. When she is about 14, he decides that time has come. He claims her in a scene of profound discomfort, and she becomes his wife. And this, your story presents, is the great love story of his life. Historians and literary critics still argue with white-hot passion. What did you mean by this? Were you, Murasaki Shikibu, condemning this? Were you holding up a mirror to your society and saying, look at this. Look at the monstrous, selfish, predatory behavior that our perfect prince is capable of? Were you a woman showing the horrifying reality of female powerlessness? Or, and this is the more disturbing thought, was this, to your 11th century audience, romantic? Was this the ultimate female fantasy of the day? To be chosen by the most powerful, beautiful man in the world, to be stolen away from the world's dangers, and to be lovingly, perfectly molded by him into his ideal companion, safe from all other political and social pressures? Your genius is that you never ever tell us. You give us no moral, no this was bad. You just show us. You show us Genji's rationalizations. She needs a protector. I am saving her from a worse fate. And you show us the girl's terror, her confusion, her total dependence. You present the psychological case file, and for 1,000 years we have been arguing the verdict. You're not just writing a soap opera. You're showing that the entire system of Miyabi, the obsessive hunt for beauty, is the very thing that allows men like Genji to dehumanize women, to turn them into beautiful projects to be acquired. And you're just getting started. You've shown us his greatest love, now you have to show us the women he doesn't love, the ones he just breaks. Your novel is named after your hero, the Shining Prince Genji. But as the chapters pile up, as the ink dries on the 1,000th page, it becomes clear that he is not the true subject of your story. He is the catalyst. He is the sun, bright, shining, and impossibly self-centered. And the real story is about the women, the complex human planets caught in his orbit. They are not just a collection of conquests or a string of tragic plot devices. They are the heart of the novel. Each one is a complete, brilliant, and often heartbreaking psychological portrait, a case study in what it means to be a woman in your gilded, suffocating cage. And these women are not all gentle, passive victims. Oh no, some of them are terrifying. Let's talk about the lady at Rokujo no Miyasudokoro. This is the mainstream historical fact of your narrative genius. The creation of a character so complex, so proud, and so psychologically tortured that she literally breaks the bounds of reality. The Rokujo lady is, on paper, a perfect match for Genji. She is older, a high-ranking, brilliant, and incredibly proud widow of a former crown prince. She is the older woman in Genji's life. But Genji, being Genji, is careless. He begins to neglect her for other, newer women. And she, a woman of immense status, is not allowed to be jealous. Jealousy is crude. It is not Miyabi. It is a vulgar, common emotion. She is supposed to be above it, so she represses her rage. She bottles it up, deep inside her, under a perfect, cool, elegant surface. And then, something leaks out. This is the famous, quirky, and terrifying tidbit that turns your novel from a courtly romance into a full-blown psychological horror story. Her repressed homicidal rage becomes so powerful that it develops a life of its own. It becomes an Ikirio, a living spirit or doppelganger. While the Rokujo lady sleeps in her own mansion, her spirit detaches itself, floats across the capital, finds Genji's new lovers and attacks them. This isn't just a metaphor, you write it as a literal horrifying event. First, Genji is hiding a new low-born lover named Yugao, Lady of the Evening Faces, in a dilapidated remote villa. It's a romantic getaway. In the middle of the night, Genji wakes up. He sees a beautiful, terrifying female spirit hovering over the bed. It is the Rokujo lady. Yugao beside him is dead. She has been frightened to death by the apparition. Genji is horrified. He has, through his carelessness, led this jealous spirit straight to his new lover. And it doesn't stop there. Later, Genji's official wife, the cold and proud Lady Aoi, is pregnant. She is in labor, a difficult and dangerous ritual when the spirit appears again. It possesses her, it speaks through her mouth, taunting Genji. And shortly after giving birth, Lady Aoi also dies. Historians and literary critics still argue with white-hot passion. What in the name of the Buddha is this? Are you, Murasaki, writing a literal ghost story? Did you believe in Ikirio? Or is this the most brilliant, subversive, and pre-Freudian psychological metaphor in all of literature? Are you showing your audience that a patriarchy that denies women any agency, any outlet for their legitimate rage, is so toxic that it literally creates monsters? Are you saying, this is what happens when you force a brilliant woman to sit silently behind a screen and pretend she feels nothing, while her life is destroyed? Her rage will find a way out, and it will be murderous. You create dozens of these portraits. There is Ana-san no Miya, the third princess. The young, childlike princess Genji is forced to marry in his old age, a political match he doesn't want. She is gentle, naive, and a total victim, ultimately raped by another man, Genji's best friend Kashiwagi, and forced to become a nun. There is Suetsumu Hana, the safflower princess, a highborn woman who is tragically comically ugly. She has a large red nose, and who Genji strings along for years out of a mixture of pity and morbid curiosity. You are brutal in your honesty. And then there is the character Murasaki, the 10-year-old girl he kidnapped and groomed. She becomes his wife, the great love of his life. And you show that even she, the one he created, is miserable. She is not the triumphant winner. She is a woman trapped in a house, forced to watch her husband, the man who is her father, her teacher, her lover, her everything, bring home new, younger wives, like the third princess. You show her swallowing her own pride and her own rage, and you make the reader wonder, is her spirit going to detach too? She is the ultimate testament to the fact that in your world, even the perfect woman, in the perfect romance, is still in a cage. These women define the story. Their lives, their suffering, and their resilience are the entire point. Genji is just the beautiful, shining rock that is thrown into their quiet ponds. You have chronicled his rise, his perfection, his sins, and his exile. You have shown the wake of his destruction, and now, you're about to do the most radical thing of all. You're going to kill your hero, but you're not even going to give him a death scene. You've done it. You have created the most complex, brilliant, loved, and hated character in the world. You have followed Hikaru Genji from his tragic birth, through his scandalous, glittering rise, to his lowest point of exile in Suma, the moon on the lake, to his triumphant return, his political dominance, and his slow, heartbreaking decline into middle age. You have shown him kidnapping his child bride Murasaki. You have shown him losing her, watching her sicken and die, a victim of the mono-no-aware that has stalked his entire life. He is now an old man, broken by this final loss, his shining light finally dimmed. He is a hollowed-out shell, his life's great love gone. And your audience, your empress, your fellow ladies, the entire court, is on the edge of their cushions. What happens next? How will this great man, this cultural icon, meet his end? And then, You do the single most audacious, most punk rock, and most narratively brilliant thing in your entire 1,000-page story. You kill him, off-screen, in a chapter that doesn't even exist. This is the mainstream historical fact that has stunned readers for a millennium. Chapter 41, The Wizard, Maboroshi, ends with Genji, hollow with grief, contemplating his own death. Then comes Chapter 42. It is titled Kumogakure, Vanished into the Clouds, and that is all. It is a blank chapter, a title, and no text. It is a void. The next chapter, Chapter 43, The Perfumed Prince, simply begins years later with a new generation, matter-of-factly stating that the Shining Prince is no more. You denied your audience a death scene. You denied them the Miyabi of a perfect, poetic end, surrounded by his weeping children. You denied them the catharsis. You, who had invented psychological realism, refused to show them the final, most profound psychological moment of all. It is the ultimate act of mono no aware. Genji, who was all about shining, is simply gone. He is erased. He is impermanent. He is, in the end, as transient as a cherry blossom or a puff of incense. Your audience must have been furious. It's like The Sopranos cut to black ending magnified by 1,000. But you weren't finished. You had 10 more chapters to write, and these final chapters, known collectively as the Uji chapters, are a radical, dark, and depressing masterpiece of a coda. You've spent 41 chapters building the most glittering, beautiful, aesthetically perfect world imaginable, and now you are going to burn it to the ground. The Uji chapters are the anti-Genji. The setting changes completely. We are no longer in the heart of the capital, the shining, perfumed world of the palace. We are in Uji, a remote, provincial, decaying town, known for its river fog and its gloomy, isolated villas. The Miyabi is gone, replaced by a sense of gothic gloom. The protagonists change. Genji is dead. His contemporaries are dead. The new heroes are the next generation, and they are, to put it bluntly, a mess. They are the living embodiment of the karma, the Buddhist law of cause and effect, of all of Genji's sins. Our new hero is Kaoru, the perfumed prince. This is the great central irony. Kaoru is known to the world as Genji's son by the third princess. But as we know, he is not Genji's son. He is the secret, illegitimate child of Genji's wife and Genji's best friend, Kashiwagi, the man who, in his lust, raped her. Kaoru is the product of that violation, and he knows deep in his bones that something is wrong with his birth. So where Genji was passionate, reckless, and driven by beauty, Kaoru is the opposite. He is cold, pious, melancholy, and paralyzed by existential doubt. He is an anti-Genji. He is so terrified of karmic punishment that he refuses to live, refuses to love, spending his days studying sutras and obsessing over his own illegitimacy. And here is the quirky tidbit of the new generation. Kaoru's rival is Niu, who is Genji's actual grandson, a spoiled, passionate, but much shallower version of Genji. The plot kicks off when these two men discover two beautiful, cultured, and tragically isolated sisters, Oigimi and Nakanokimi, living in a decaying, haunted-looking mansion in the provincial gloom of Uji. The second half of the novel is essentially these two princes fighting over, manipulating and ultimately destroying these two innocent, trapped women. It is a grim story. It's a tragedy with no Miyabi. It's just tragedy. The glamour is gone. The bright colors have faded to gray and black. This is the morning after of Genji's beautiful, selfish world. This is the hangover. Historians still argue vociferously about these Uji chapters. Are they a brilliant, necessary conclusion to the novel's grand Buddhist theme of karmic decay? Are they a brave, modernist masterpiece of anti-romance, showing that the next generation is always a pale, damaged echo of the one that came before? Or are they a depressing, grim, and frankly unfun sequel, tacked onto the end of a masterpiece? It's the literary equivalent of a beloved glamorous TV show getting a final season that is all darkness, misery, and secondary characters you don't care about. The tone is so different. The prose is darker, more complex, more tangled. The focus is so relentlessly bleak. It's so different, in fact, that it has fueled the single greatest, most passionate, and most enduring scholarly debate in all of Japanese literature. Did you, Murasaki Shikibu, even write this last part? This is the question that has split Genji scholarship in two for centuries. It is the great unsolved mystery at the heart of your masterpiece. You've just read, or, in your case, written, 41 chapters of glittering, poetic, psychologically brilliant, but ultimately romantic storytelling, centered on a charismatic, shining hero. And then you hit chapter 42, vanished into the clouds, which is a blank page. And then you plunge into the Uji chapters. And it feels different. The protagonist is gone. The Miyabi is gone. The glamour is gone. The entire prose style is darker, more tangled, more complex. It's like listening to a beautiful melodic symphony for 2 hours, and then the last 20 minutes are a completely different, dissonant, modernist piece. This is the great authorship debate, and historians still argue and will probably argue until the end of time whether the Tale of Genji is the work of one single evolving genius, you, or if it is the work of two authors, or maybe even more. Let's look at the one-author camp first. This is the traditional view. Of course you wrote it all. You are not a machine. You are a human artist, and you are writing this story over a long period, maybe 10 or 12 years. The early chapters, the ones full of glittering romance and scandal, you wrote those in your late 20s or early 30s. You were a new, ambitious, celebrated lady in waiting at the absolute center of the cultural world. Your salon was winning the Cold War of taste. You were the superstar. You created the glamour. But the Uji chapters? You wrote those a decade later. You are now in your 40s. You are no longer the new girl. You are a veteran of the court. You have seen more. You've seen the political winds shift. You've seen more of your friends die. You have become more and more immersed in your Buddhist faith, which teaches, above all, the lessons of karma, cause and effect, and mujo, impermanence. You are no longer interested in the shining prince fantasy you created. In fact, you may have come to regret it. You may have looked at the bootleg copies and the frivolous way your audience obsessed over Genji's love life, and you may have decided to write a corrective. The Uji chapters are your mature, philosophical retraction. They are your dark, brutal masterpiece, a warning that says, you all love that beautiful, selfish world? Well, this is what it leads to. It leads to decay. It leads to suffering. It leads to these hollow, haunted men and these trapped, tragic women. There is no escape from the wheel of karma. It's not a different author. It's you, having grown up, having become disillusioned. And then, there is the multiple authors camp. This is the mainstream historical fact of the debate. The linguistic and stylistic differences between the main body, chapters 141, and the Uji chapters, 4454, are real, measurable, and significant. It's not just a feeling. The vocabulary changes. The Uji chapters use a whole set of different, more scholarly, more Chinese-inflected words that almost never appear in the first 41 chapters. The grammar is different. The sentences are more complex, more tangled, more convoluted. Even the pacing is different. The first part moves. Genji has an affair, he goes to a festival, he writes a poem. The Uji chapters grind. The characters sit in dark, gloomy rooms and brood. They are paralyzed by indecision. It feels like a different mind at work. So if you didn't write it, who did? This is where the theory gets juicy, and it's the greatest quirky tidbit of this entire mystery. The leading candidate for the second author is your own daughter, Kenshi, the baby girl you left with your family when you went to court, remember her? She didn't just disappear, she grew up. And just like you, she was a brilliant, educated woman who became a celebrated poet in her own right, known at court as Daini no Sanmi. She too served an empress, your own boss, Shoshi, in her later years. She would have grown up in the shadow of Genji, the most famous book in the world, which her mother wrote. The theory goes like this. You, Murasaki Shikibu, died. Maybe you died after completing chapter 41, leaving the story finished with your hero's decline. Or maybe you started the Uji chapters, wrote some drafts, and then died before you could complete them. And your daughter Kenshi, a genius in her own right, steeped in your work but with her own darker, more scholarly style, took up your brush. She decided to finish her mother's masterpiece, to give it the grand, philosophical Buddhist conclusion she felt it deserved. She edited your notes, or she wrote it all herself, creating this dark, brilliant, and stylistically different coda. It's the ultimate literary mystery. A book whose author's real name is lost to time may also have an ending whose authorship is lost. A story about impermanence has an ending that is itself fluid and contested. And the entire reason this debate can exist, the reason we have to guess, the reason your daughter is a plausible suspect, is because of what happens next, or rather what doesn't happen. You have written the most famous book in the world. You are the star of the most powerful salon. You are, for a brief shining decade, the center of the literary universe. And then, just like your hero Genji and his blank chapter, you vanish. You have created the most important book in the world. You are, for a brilliant pressurized decade, the undisputed queen of the literary scene. Your salon has won the Cold War of culture. Your patron, Empress Shoshi, thanks in no small part to the prestige you and her other star intellectuals brought her, has become the mother of 2 future emperors. Her father, Michinaga, has achieved his ultimate victory. The rival Empress Teishi is dead. Her brilliant, sharp-tongued lady-in-waiting, Sei Shonagon, has vanished from court in disgrace after her family's fall. A bad end, just as you predicted in your diary, in a line dripping with vindictive satisfaction. You have won. You are, by all accounts, on top of the world. And then, just like your hero Genji, you simply vanish. Our single greatest source for your inner life, your personality, your voice, is your own diary, the Murasaki Shikibu Nikki. This is the mainstream historical fact. But this diary is one of the most brilliant and frustrating documents in literature. It is not a day-by-day log of your life. It is a curated, literary, and often deeply melancholic collection of vignettes, character sketches, and private thoughts, written around 2008 to 1010. It covers, almost exclusively, the nerve-wracking period of Empress Shoshi's pregnancy and the triumphant birth of her first son, the future Emperor Goichijo. In it, we hear you. We hear your crippling self-doubt, your anxiety, your deep insecurities. You write that you feel like a cast-off, that you are clumsy, shy, and have no knack for service. You complain, "Why am I still here? My life? What is it for?" You, the most famous author in Japan, are suffering from a crushing case of imposter syndrome. And as we know, you unleash that famous, blistering takedown of Sei Shonagon, calling her conceited and shallow. The diary is a masterpiece of complex psychology, your psychology. And then, around 1010, after the celebrations for the prince's birth, it just stops. The window into your mind slams shut, forever. After that, we have to hunt for you in the margins of the official male histories. This is the great, frustrating, quirky tidbit. The woman who invented the psychological novel is, to the official record keepers, a non-entity. The Grand Court Diaries, the Mido Kampaku Ki, your own boss Michinaga's diary, or the Shoyuki, are concerned with ministerial promotions, ritual dates, and rice yields. A mid-level lady-in-waiting, even a famous one, is just staff. The last verifiable contemporary mention we have of you is around the year 1013 or 1014. A court document notes your father, Tamatoki, who had, in a fit of pique, retired to a monastery, being granted a new governorship. This implies you, his well-connected daughter at the heart of the court, were likely still active and had used your influence to pull some strings for your difficult but beloved father. And after that? Nothing. Silence. A total, impenetrable, and permanent void. You are gone from the historical record. Historians still argue, with a kind of desperate frustration, about what happened. There are 3 main theories, none of them mutually exclusive. She retired. This is the most prosaic and most likely. By 1014, you would be in your mid-40s. This is old age in the Heian period. Your patron, Shoshi, was now the unassailable Grand Empress, mother of emperors. Your job was done. You had served for nearly a decade in that high-pressure hothouse. You were, as your diary attests, tired and disillusioned. The most logical thing in the world would be to request a polite, formal retirement from service. You would leave the palace, perhaps to go live with your now-grown daughter, Kenshi, Daini no Sanmi, who was herself a rising poet and lady-in-waiting. You would simply become a private citizen, a revered grand dame of letters. And as a private citizen, you would no longer appear in the public official court documents. You didn't vanish. You just went home. She became a nun. This is a very close second, and it's what many romantics prefer. It was the standard, respectable path for a high-born widow, especially one of your deep Buddhist faith, which saturates the Genji chapters, especially Uji. You may have taken the tonsure, had your beautiful floor-length black hair cut, and entered a convent to live out your days in prayer. Finally free from the petty jealousies, the 40-pound robes, and the crushing miyabi of a court you seem to have secretly despised. She died. This is the simple, sad reality that could have happened at any time. Life expectancy was abysmal. Plagues were common. One killed your husband. Childbirth was a death sentence, as it was for Genji's wife, Yugao, and Aoi. You could have retired and lived for another 20 years. Or you could have caught an infection in 1014 and been dead in 3 days. We simply do not know. In the end, your fate is the greatest, most perfect, and most ironic act of Mono no Aware. The woman who gave us the most detailed inner lives in all of literature has no recorded death. Her own end is as blank and mysterious as the vanished into the clouds chapter she wrote for her hero. She, the author, was as impermanent as her creation. She was erased. But her book, this fragile, flammable, handmade object was just beginning its own, almost impossible 1,000-year story of survival. You are gone. Your name is lost. Your diary is a fragment. Your final resting place is unknown. You are as impermanent as the dew on a lotus leaf, a perfect, final embodiment of Mono no Aware. And your book? Your original manuscript, the one you wrote with your own brush, grinding your own ink, the one your boss Mishinaga read over your shoulder, that is gone too. It was written on Gampi paper and bound in silk. It was, in other words, kindling. It was a delicious meal for insects. It was tragically vulnerable to a single drop of rain, a single spilled cup of sake. The original Genji, the one that came from your hand, has not existed for almost 1,000 years. It was, in all likelihood, destroyed in one of the many, many fires that leveled Kyoto. And yet here we are. We are here a millennium later on a different continent in a different language talking about Genji and the Rokujo lady. How? Why did your story survive when countless others turned to ash? The answer is that your book was not just a story, it became a sacred text. And its survival was not an accident. It was an active, deliberate, and phenomenally expensive 1,000-year-long act of preservation. This is the mainstream historical fact. Your novel survived because of Heian, handwritten copies. For centuries after your death, the most aristocratic, most scholarly, and most devout act a person of taste could perform was to create their own personal copy of the Tale of Genji. This was not a quick hobby. This was a life's work. A single wealthy aristocrat or a high-ranking monk would spend years at his desk, with his own team of professional calligraphers, meticulously transcribing all 54 chapters, 1,000 pages, over 400 characters. It was an act of extreme miyabi, a way to prove your own cultural and spiritual depth. And every time a new copy was made, the story's life was extended. It was a form of cloning the text, spreading its DNA across hundreds of temples and aristocratic libraries, making it impossible for one single fire or one civil war to wipe it out. But this led to a problem. The bootlegs. Remember how you were infuriated by those bad copies, the ones full of errors? Well, after 100 years of this, the problem was catastrophic. There were dozens of variant Genjis floating around. Some had different chapter endings. Some used different words. Some perhaps had entire sections invented by a copyist to fix a part they didn't like. Your story was dissolving into chaos. Then, about 200 years after you died, a man named Fujiwara no Taika stepped in. Taika was, in the 13th century, the single most revered poet and scholar in Japan. He was the ultimate prestige critic. And he was, to put it mildly, a Genji fanatic. He saw this chaos and it offended his Miyabi to its very core. So he took on a monumental project. He gathered all the bootleg versions, all the variant texts he could find, and he began the world's first great act of Genji scholarship. He cross-referenced them. He compared them. He used his own poetic genius to decide which version felt the most authentic, which reading was the most correct. And from this, he created his own master edition. He had it copied out on beautiful blue patterned paper, and it became known as the Aobayoshiban, the Blue Book text. This is the version that, for the most part, has become the standard. The Genji we read today is almost certainly Taika's Genji. Historians still argue about this. Was Taika a savior, a hero who rescued your novel from a sea of errors and preserved it for all time? Or was he the ultimate phonetic, a brilliant but arrogant man who corrected your original prose, fixed your grammar, and created a smoother, more poetic Genji that was, in fact, his version, not yours? We will never know for sure because your original is gone. We only have the copies. But copying the text was only half of its survival. The other, and perhaps more powerful method, was the quirky and beautiful tidbit of the Genji Monogatari Imaki, the illustrated Genji hand scrolls. About 100 or 150 years after your death, your novel was so famous, so legendary, that wealthy 12th century patrons commissioned the greatest artists of the day to adapt it. This was the first prestige TV adaptation. They created massive, sprawling imaki, hand scrolls, that told your story through a series of exquisite paintings. These scrolls are now among Japan's most priceless national treasures, and they are weird to our modern eyes. They use a technique called fukinuki yatai, or blown-off roof. The artists would paint the scenes from a god's eye view, looking down from above, with the roofs of the palaces removed. This allows the viewer to see into the private rooms, to see the ladies behind their screens, to witness the secret whispered conversations, just as you, the author, did, and the faces. The faces are all hikimi kagihana, /I, hook nose. Every aristocratic character, male or female, has the exact same stylized, passionless face. A white, powdered mask, a short black line for an eye, a simple hook for a nose, and a tiny red rosebud mouth. There is no emotion on their faces. Why? Because Miyabi demanded it. True emotion was hidden. The feelings are not in the faces. They are in the posture. The slump of a grieving shoulder, the bright clashing colors of a robe worn by a crude character, or the overgrown weed-choked garden that represents a woman's desolation. These scrolls froze your story in a visual form that could be understood even by those who couldn't read the whole text, keeping it alive in the cultural imagination for centuries, long after your prose style had become archaic and difficult. This fragile thing, a story on paper, a painting on silk, then had to survive the samurai. It had to survive the rise of a warrior class that, in many ways, despised the weak Miyabi of your Heian world. It had to survive the Genpei War, the burning of Kyoto in the Onin War, centuries of feudalism, fire, and flood. The fact that it is here at all is a miracle, a testament to the thousands of forgotten hands that copied your words and treasured your images. So your story survives. It's a miracle of paper, ink, and 1,000 devoted hands. It's been cloned by scholar monks, fixed by the great critic Taika, and adapted into the stunning Genji Imaki, the illustrated hand scrolls with the blown-off roofs and the passionless /I faces. But your novel didn't just survive in a dusty archive like a rare fossil. It escaped. It went viral, in the slowest moving, most profound way imaginable. It didn't just endure, it became the cultural atmosphere of Japan for the next 1,000 years. This is the mainstream historical fact. The Tale of Genji is not just a Japanese classic, it is the foundational text of Japanese vernacular literature. It is the spring from which almost all later creative streams flow. To be an educated person in Japan, from the 12th century to the 19th, was to know Genji. You didn't just read it, you memorized its key poems. You alluded to its plot points in your own letters. It became the ultimate shared universe, the cultural shorthand for every refined emotion. Its influence on the visual arts was total. The Genji Amaki were just the beginning. The genre of Genji, or Genji pictures, exploded. For the next 800 years, your story was the single most popular subject for painters, second only to religious icons. Artists from the great Tosa and Kano schools painted your scenes onto massive 6-panel byobu, folding screens, that would dominate the main hall of a shogun's castle. They painted them onto lacquered suzuribako, writing boxes, so that a 17th century lady could grind her ink while looking at a tiny, perfect gold leaf image of Genji at Suma. They painted them onto fans. They wove them into the patterns of kosode, the predecessor to the kimono. You could, quite literally, wear your favorite chapter. Your novel became the visual language of elegance itself, but its most surprising conquest was the theater. You, a product of the effete Heian court, the world of Miyabi that was all about perfume and poetry, were about to be embraced by the new, grim, unelegant masters of Japan, the samurai. By the 14th century, your world was gone, replaced by a military dictatorship. The new art form for this warrior class was no theater. No is austere, slow, spiritual, and masked. It is a theater of ghosts, of memory, and of profound Buddhist regret. And what were the stories they adapted? What were these battle-hardened shoguns and daimyo paying to see? You. This is the quirky and profound tidbit. Your novel became the primary source material for the greatest no plays. The playwrights, Zimi in particular, were obsessed with your supporting characters, the women Genji had destroyed. They didn't write a play about Genji the hero. They wrote plays about his victims. You could go to the theater and watch Aoi no Ue, Lady Aoi, a play where the entire terrifying plot is the exorcism of the Ikiryo, the living spirit of the Rokujo lady, from the dying body of Genji's wife. You could watch Yugao, the tragic story of the Evening Faces lady, killed by that same jealous ghost. The samurai, men who lived by the sword, would sit in a dark cypress wood theater and weep at the mono no aware of the Heian court ladies their own ancestors had rendered obsolete. Your psychological ghosts became their literal, theatrical ghosts. This continued for centuries. In the 17th and 18th centuries, the raucous, low-class kabuki theater adapted your plots. The great ukiyo-e woodblock print artists, like Hiroshige and Kunisada, created entire best-selling series of prints, 100 Views of Genji, recasting your hero as a modern, fashionable kabuki actor. A 17th century author, Ihara Saikaku, wrote The Life of an Amorous Man, which is a direct, high-speed, and deeply dirty parody of Genji, recasting your prince as a sex-obsessed merchant's son. You can't parody something unless it is the absolute, unshakable center of the culture. Historians still argue whether this total, suffocating dominance of Genji was a net good for Japanese literature. Was it a sun that gave light to all other forms? Or was it a sun that was so bright it scorched the earth, preventing other different types of stories, grand adventures, political satires, non-aristocratic prose, from growing for almost 800 years? Did your masterpiece set a standard so impossibly high that it actually stifled innovation? Your novel, this intimate domestic female story, was contained within Japan for 900 years. Then in the early 20th century, the West discovered it. In 1925, an eccentric, brilliant British scholar named Arthur Waley began publishing his English translation. It was not a literal translation. Waley, a member of the Bloomsbury Group, was a stunning prose stylist. He cut out the boring parts, the subplots, the poetry contests. He smoothed out your more complex psychological prose, and he essentially rewrote your book as a beautiful, flowing 20th century modernist novel. And the European modernists lost their minds. Virginia Woolf, who was busy writing To the Lighthouse and trying to invent the stream of consciousness novel, read Waley's Genji. She was stunned. She wrote in a letter that she was jealous, that Genji had a psychological subtlety that she and her contemporaries, like Proust, were only just now figuring out. She was shocked to discover that you, this lady in lilac living in 1000 AD, had gotten there first. It was Whaley's fanfiction version of your book that put the Tale of Genji on the map as world literature. It was proof that the novel wasn't just a European invention. From a dim, incense-filled room in a wooden palace, to a handmade scroll, to a shogun's theater, to a modern novelist's desk in London. Your story, your psychological Genji, had conquered time and space, which leads us finally back to the beginning. Why? How did you, a woman with no name trapped in a gilded cage, do it? So we come back to that one final question. Why her? Why you? Why did the world's first true novel, this massive, psychologically complex 1,000-page epic of the human heart, come from this one specific, cloistered woman whose real name we don't even know, living 1,000 years ago in a gilded, incense-filled cage? It feels impossible. It feels like a miracle. But it wasn't. It was, as we've seen, a perfect storm, a once-in-a-civilization convergence of 4 specific, unrepeatable ingredients. You just happened to be the one person, in the one place, at the one time, who held all 4 of them in her hands. The first ingredient was the place, the Heian court. This is the mainstream historical fact that makes it all possible. It was a hothouse. It was a bizarre, unique bubble in history. A world without war, where all human energy, political, social, intellectual, had been turned inward. It was a world where miyabi, aesthetic taste, was the single greatest political weapon. This created a crushing, competitive pressure to be the most refined, the most sensitive, the most brilliant. And, as we've said, it created a boredom so profound, so soul-deep, that the entire court was starved for new sophisticated narrative. They were a captive audience, literally, and they were desperate for a new story. The second ingredient was the tool, hiragana. You had a brand new, revolutionary technology, a script that had been beta-tested for a century, a women's hand that was, for the first time, perfectly, fluidly, and intuitively capable of capturing the sounds and therefore the nuances of your native emotional language. The men were all busy with their clumsy, important Chinese kanbun, writing their dry histories of what happened. You and your fellow ladies had a tool that could finally, write about what it felt like. The psychological world, silent for so long, had just been given its alphabet. The third ingredient was the competition. You were not writing in a vacuum. You were writing in a cold war of culture, against an established rival salon, and against the established, dazzling genius of Sei Shonagon. The pillow book was the mountain you had to climb. Sei had perfected the art of the witty, observational, and deeply judgmental list. She had captured the surface of miyabi better than anyone. You couldn't beat her at her own game. You had to invent a new game. You had to go deeper. You had to counter her brilliant, static snapshots of life with a rolling, continuous movie of life. You had to answer her witticisms with empathy. And that leads to the fourth and most important ingredient, the author. You. Not just any court lady. It had to be you. Because you were, to use our modern term, a hybrid. You were the only one with the code to both worlds. This is the quirky tidbit that is the key to everything. Your forbidden, stolen male education. Any of the other ladies could have written a hiragana diary. Any of them could have written a romance. But they could not have written an epic. They did not have the structure. From your father's Chinese books, you had absorbed the grand, sprawling, multi-generational scale of the great histories. You had learned about plot, about political maneuvering, about the long-term karmic consequences of a single action. You had the male toolkit of narrative architecture. You were the one person in history who could fuse the two. You took the grand, epic scale of a Chinese history, and for the first time ever, you aimed it inward. You used that male structure to build a 1,000-page scaffolding, and then you filled it, using your female hiragana script, with the most intimate, psychological, and emotional material the world had ever seen. You built a palace with a man's tools, and you decorated its interior with a woman's heart. This is why Sei Shonagon, for all her genius, was not the first novelist. She was the perfect observer, but you were the psychologist. She showed us how the court worked. You showed us why its people broke. Your life experience, your widowhood, your profound grasp of mono no aware, gave you the empathy she lacked. She judged the woman with the clumsy robe. You became the woman in the clumsy robe and told us her story, from the inside out. Historians still argue whether your novel was a singular, spontaneous miracle, a big bang of genius from a single mind, or if it was the inevitable, logical product of these unique, converging forces. Was it you, or was it the moment? The truth is, it was both. The moment provided the pressure, the language, and the audience. But it was your singular, bilingual, empathetic genius that saw the opening. You saw the void left by the historians, the poets, and the witty list-makers. You saw a new, unexplored continent, the human interior, and with your brush, you were the first to map it. You are Murasaki Shikibu. You are Kaoruko Takako, or the daughter from ceremonies. You are the ghost in the record, the woman with no name. And you are the mother of the novel. You are the one who proved that the most epic story in the world is not the story of a battle or a king or a god. It is the story of a single human heart, in all its flawed, contradictory, beautiful, and devastating reality. You wrote it all down, and 1,000 years later the world is still listening, still catching its breath, still trying to understand the simple, profound truth you laid bare. That the human heart, not the moon, is the one thing truly worth gazing at. And now, as the last image of that distant wooden palace begins to fade, you can feel the story coming to its gentle, quiet end. The incense smoke which we saw rising in that first moment has finally thinned and vanished into the Heian night. The rustle of the 12-layer silk robes has fallen silent. The sound of the koto has stopped. The screens of state, the kicho, and the sudare are finally fully drawn. The endless, polite, and predatory games of the court are over, at least for tonight. All that is left is the garden, silent under the same moon that Genji saw. The same moon that you, Murasaki, saw from the temple at Ishiyama-dera. It is the moon that connects their world to ours. A silver thread of mono, no-aware, pulled taut across 1,000 years. It reminds us that everything, even this story, must pass. So it is time to let these ghosts rest. Let the shining prince in his non-existent grave finally find his peace. Let the Rokujo lady's furious spirit dissolve into the night air. And let Murasaki Shikibu, the woman with no name, finally put down her brush. She has done her work. She has shown us the human heart. And now she can rest. It is time for you to do the same. The night has been long. The journey was deep. But it is over. So let the darkness outside your window be a comfort. Let the soft sound of the fan or the quiet hum of the house be your anchor. There are no more stories to tell tonight. There is only the simple, easy peace of the present moment. It is time to let go. It is time to drift.